What's up, gamers? What's up, gamers? What's up, gamers? Hey there, gamers. How are we doing today? How is your Monday going? Did you eat a lot of food? What's up, gamer? You know what we're doing today. You read the report. You're not happy about any of this. Don't you want to do something about all this? Don't you want to do something about all this, you know? All this shit and piss and cum. Chat. Severe numbness. Ram, you're dying, man. I don't know what to tell you, man. You're dying. You're dying and it's really sad. It sucks. And it's ass and it's piss and it's shit. So, I ordered my dinner, because I looked at my phone, and my phone was like, hey, all of your McDonald's points are expiring soon, you should use those. And I was like, fuck, I should use those. So I got a chocolate milkshake and a Big Mac. Although, I should've got the what's it called? We're not playing Red World today, we're playing Theocratic Door. We're on tour, we just started turn 9. Look at us, dude, look at us. Turn 9, you say. Let me pull up the guide. Alright. The rain has lied. Let's turn on the fan. No, yeah, I kept getting warnings like, oh, it's gonna rain, careful, light showers coming on later today. Not a drop of water. The only water that hit me was when, like, an hour ago when I went down to Target to get dishwashing gloves. A fucking window wiper dropped a bunch of water on my head. This is so cock and ball torture. This is so CBT. Don't you want to do something about all this? This is so fucking CBT right now. Do I ever wake up with severe numbness, though? I think I have once or twice. Not often, though. Though my body is slowly collapsing in on itself because I've been eating like shit recently. Alright, let me see. Let's get back into it. We just started turn 9 of our Theocratic Door run. I think we can probably finish this run tonight. I think we're 2 turns out. That way we can end this Suzerain run and be excited for the next country that comes out. Pause when I said CBT, now I'm missing out a huge portion of the stream. CBT is tasty, dude. The voice changer? I got one of those. Hang on. I don't know how to use it anymore.
Here's like a voice. This is like what my voice sounds on this voice.
Here's what my voice sounds like on this voice. Is this voice any good?
Is this voice any good? Can you see the number 1 or number 2? Here's number 1.
And here's number 2. This is what number 2 sounds like.
This is what number 1 sounds like. This is what number 1 sounds like. This is what number 2 sounds like. This is what number 2 sounds like.
And this is what number 1 sounds like. This is what number 1 sounds like.
This is what CBT sounds like.
Oh god, that'll be 10 times more annoying. Dude, what if you were in... I mean, I can't hear it because I don't have replay on my mixer. But I can imagine it was kind of shit ass. I imagine it came... I imagine it sounded like shit coming out of ass. Alright. Let's get saucy on it. Let's get saucy on it. I'm drinking my milkshake slowly. I'm eventually gonna take a bite of my burger. The Golconda Sanctuary is opened in jails. The newly completed Golconda Sanctuary in jails now stands as a symbol of devotion and discipline. Overlooking the Sudis Sea, the sanctuary's design incorporates elements of traditional Rizian and Golcondist architecture, creating a serene yet impressive space for worship and training. Pilgrims and practitioners have already begun arriving to participate in rigorous spiritual and martial exercises, reinforcing jails' status as a major religious center. Isn't that like every state that we're sort of like interacting with, though? Sound like a well-known person which has mutton chops for a moment? Schlatt? Or... Wolverine. Salabis Consumer Industries Park operational. The new industrial park dedicated to consumer goods has fully entered operations, with Rizian household appliance manufacturers shifting their operations from abroad to the city. In a few weeks' time, the first fridges and washing machines are expected to reach households throughout the country, as preparations are underway to quickly bring production up to speed. Ruix Guardians maintain peace at mass prayer. The newly formed Ruix Guardians have ensured the mass prayer, which drew tens of thousands of worshippers to the city of Plavo, went smoothly. The Guardians managed to manage the crowds, avoiding any incidents or stampedes. Grand opening of the Havas consumer industry? Yes! That's where all that capital influx is coming from. I'm 16 across the board, dude. Look at me. Milkshake made by femboys for femboys. That's true. The more soy and the more milk that you consume, the more female you will be, I'm told. Perhaps a mix of both. I think Schlatt should play the next Wolverine in the next Marvel Wolverine movie. The Havas consumer industry has officially opened, marking a significant milestone in Rizia's push for domestic production. A formal ribbon-cutting ceremony was attended by local officials and industry leaders celebrating the launch of new textiles and household goods production facilities. The development is expected to provide stable employment for hundreds of workers and reduce reliance on imported consumer products. Market analysts anticipate a boost in local trade, with the factory already securing contracts for distribution across the kingdom. Not too bad, not too bad. We've reclaimed Zeal and we're on our way to reclaiming Pales. The CSP condemns Calicobe's island militarization by the ATO. That's right, we did lease out Calicobe's to the ATO. The development is grave concern as it destabilizes the delicate balance of power in the region and undermines efforts towards peaceful coexistence. The establishment of military facilities in Calicobe's island by ATO forces is a clear aggressive maneuver that challenges the stability and security of CSP member states. We call for an immediate halt to these activities and demand a return to dialogue to address security concerns in a manner that respects the sovereignty and territorial integration of all nations. National liberation. Mauve Nordis energy independence. Major milestone has been reached with the completion of the Mauve Nordis oil field. Mauve Nordis is right there next to Zeal. Okay, good to know. A project that aims to transform our nation's energy sector, initiated by His Majesty's decree. This development increases domestic energy production, reduces reliance on foreign imports, and stimulates regional economic growth. With state-of-the-art drilling facilities, expanded transportation networks, and dedicated worker accommodations, the oil field is now fully operational. Hundreds of jobs have been created, strengthening the local economy and ensuring long-term prosperity for the region. As the first barrels of oil roll out, the kingdom moves closer to the future of strength, stability, and self-sufficiency. Turmoil strikes Ventry City. Oh shit, an assassination attempt! A wave of assassinations. Add that in. Sorry. Your message got bought. Omega lol. Yesterday you mentioned boners and pizza. I should combo that with the milkshake. I did mention boners and pizza, didn't I? The caffeine seems to have reawakened your brain for now. One of my coworkers found a pack of gum on the ground today on a cart run, where they went to get carts from the garage, and like shopping carts, and it was gamer gum. It was gamer energy gum. It has like a little bit of caffeine in the gum, and it's for gamers. It was made by gamers for gamers. Astounding. Turmoil strikes Ventry City. A wave of targeted political assassinations struck Ventry City's financial district, claiming the lives of one key campaign staffer and one local district politician preceding Arcasia's decisive vote. A coordinated drive-by shooting and a small explosive detonation aimed at Charles Devereaux's team heightened fears of election disruption. Palantir Security Solutions aided Arcasian police at rally sites, while Cerberus International reinforced key transit hubs with rapid responses and surveillance units. The election comes amid slowing growth, rising military spending, and mounting pressure on working-class communities. President Dwight Walker's pro-market agenda faces resistance from voters backing Devereaux's platform for welfare expansion and public oversight. Debates over inequality, migration, and privatized power have polarized the electorate and drawn attention from the observers wary of Contanian-aligned interference. In a televised address, Walker condemned the killings, vowed justice, and urged citizens to uphold constitutional values. Swordland Volg's Land Pact. Swordish government has officially signed a new economic deal and a military pact with Volgsland. Oh. Which brings the two economies closer to an economic partnership agreement, as well as their militaries with new military alliance. The Swordland Volgland alliance was made official by President Rain and Chancellor Hagel in Halem yesterday. The deal is tailored to benefit both economies with big benefits to Swordish and Volkslandian businesses. It will also bring the militaries of both countries closer together through joint military training and intelligence sharing according to the pact. Both countries will join each other in any defensive wars. The signing marks a new period of close relations between Swordland and Volksland, which will see two regional powers work together as allies. Swordland recognizes Helluland as Volkslandian territory. Damn! President Rain has announced that Swordland will recognize Volkland's claim on the island of Helluland after his meeting with Chancellor Hagel, sending ripples around eastern Merkoba and beyond. Helluland is an island that has long been disputed between Agnolia and Volksland due to its strategic position. Following the bloody conflict in Helluland, Volksland has been increasing its presence on Agnolia and started to pose a threat to peace in the region. Swordland's decision to support Volksland may be a sign of incoming conflict regardless. Now Agnolia stands alone in eastern Merkoba against two major regional powers. Whoa. My coworker perhaps eat it, leading it to somehow sticking into their airways? Maybe. No idea. I don't think anybody ate it. I don't think there's very many gamers around. Hey, Artstorm. Where are all the other people? They're in YouTube, it looks like. Whoa, tentacles. WHR voices concerns over protest death. The Watchtower of Human Rights has called out to the Rizian government after sources of people were killed in anti-king demonstrations by government forces. I don't remember doing that. The human rights groups also mentioned that it's launched an investigation into alleged forced disappearances and calls upon the Rizian king to refrain from further violence against demonstrators. I don't fucking remember doing all that. I don't remember doing all that at all. The Scepter of Cup. Get this out of here. I want to interact with the Scepter of Semen. Alright. Oh, before we do anything, do we have starter decrees? We don't have starter decrees. Okay. Turn actions. Agree to help the Pilgrim Corridor between Morella and Derdia. Oh. 12 kill- oh, there it is. Whoa. Scepter of Cup. Security forces stationed to stationed to maintain order and prevent mass mobilizations against our reign have opened fire on a protest. At least 12 people were killed, with scores more injured. Organizers of the anti-king demonstrators have already said they will continue and not let the martyrs' death be in vain. Diplomatic mediation to Therdia. Indeed. Let's see how it goes. When was the last time I was sleepwalking? I don't think I've ever slept walk. Now, I do toss and turn at night, even in my sleep, which is crazy, because I didn't know you could do that. And apparently, when I'm asleep, I also talk, like, a lot. Like, a lot. Like, apparently I've had full conversations in my sleep before. Conversations that I cannot recall, but apparently people have had with me, which is very scary. Okay. Lorento and I sat in Palace Resna's diplomatic suite awaiting our foreign guests. A knock came at the door. Prime Minister Saltania and Supreme Wiseman Asmal had arrived. A lot had happened since I promised the Dardian and Morellan leaders that I would mediate between them, but I was still determined to find a solution. They and a handful of their ministers joined myself and Lorento around the conference table. So, here we all are. I'm confident we can accomplish great things today. Asmal and Saltania looked at each other uneasily. Lorento cleared his throat. We all know why we are here. Your countries have been engaged in border disputes for years. Rizia has promised to help you find a common solution. The Morellan Prime Minister nodded. A pipeline runs between Derdia and Morella now. If these insurgencies continue, our economies and image will suffer. Insurgencies is exactly that kind of language that has made me reluctant to deal with you, Madam Prime Minister. Staying on Twitch, Heartstorm? I don't blame you. I also prefer Twitch's, UI, even though I watch more stuff on YouTube nowadays. Are you sure it's my language you have a problem with, Mr. Asmal? Not the fact that I'm a woman who holds more power than you? A duel of generosity. Your conduct is befitting of kindergartners, not world leaders. Both Sultana and Ozma looked down at the table. Forgive me, your majesty. However, this is a problem with an easy solution. Allow Dardian Galcondists the freedom to practice their religion. You may not believe in God yourself, Miss Sultana, and yet you cannot deny those who do believe in a higher power the right to worship as their ancestors have. The borders between Dardia and Morella were drawn only recently. They do feel rather arbitrary. And yet they are there for a reason. Lorenzo tented his fingers on the table. Supreme Wiseman, Madam Prime Minister, this is the solution my department has devised for you. He opened a folder and pulled out a map of Dardia, Rizia, and Morella with a diagram drawn on it. We'll call this St. Ruick's Corridor. His finger traced a thick black line from the Dardian Morellan border towards the Antician coast. Each year, a select number of Dardians with an appropriate prayer visa will be allowed to Morella via this specific channel. It includes the most important sanctuaries on the Galcondas pilgrimage route. The route continues into Rizia, where Dardian pilgrims have been permitted for some time. Sultana eyed me suspiciously. Quite lucky not to sleep midstream near a microphone? True. I've done that a couple times. My Wi-Fi is busting my balls right now. I can't watch the stream without it buffering. Ah, Heartstorm. I'm sorry to see that. I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's awful. How do we know that Dardians will stick to the route as they pass through Morella? How do we know the Morellans will not attempt to block it? Agree to help create a pilgrimage corridor between Morella and Dardia. Send a company from Rizian Armed Forces. Kingdom of Rizia will pay for a small team of independent contractors to oversee the corridor security. I can accept that. So can I. Lorenzo smiled proudly. Thank you both for your swift willingness to compromise. Such solutions always seem easy when it's a third party proposing them, don't they? We'll assemble a team for all three of our countries to begin the creation of the corridor. Come to a diplomatic agreement quickly. I have high hopes for the Inter-Mercopum alliance. Agreed, Your Majesty. Lorenzo checked his pocket watch. We are finished here. I'm happy Rizia was able to help you. The Morellan Prime Minister rose from her seat. I will see you in the trade zone next month. I'd like to go over a detail or two about that first. I'll escort you to the door. She and her entourage followed him out of the suite. May the Lord be with you. He stood up and shook my hand and left the suite. Theo my door? I Theo my door. Let's see. Ruick's Corridor formed in Morella. As part of the mediation efforts between the nations of the former Empire Meridia, King Ramos Taurus has assisted with the formation of a secure corridor through which Dardian religious pilgrims may pass through Morella in order to visit Galconda's prayer sites in the Republic as well as Rizia. Morella and Dardia have found themselves at constant odds in the past, with border clashes often threatening to turn into full-scale conflict. With the solution offered by Rizia, it seems there's finally a chance for peace between all three nations. Ain't that the truth? We also have good living standards. Look at us, dude. Homelessness in free fall, that's right! As the program providing housing to homeless individuals starts picking up speed, the number of unhoused inside Port Chazon has effectively halved. A shortage of housing still exists, making finding suitable housing space difficult, but new constructions are underway to alleviate these problems. Religious groups attack Reform Rally. Violence erupted today at a Reform Rally in central jails where members of several Ruchist organizations clashed with demonstrators advocating for constitutional reform. Armed with improvised weapons, the attackers stormed the rally, dispersing the crowd and injuring dozens before law enforcement intervened. Eyewitness report that the assailants accused the protesters of undermining traditionalist values and promoting secularism contrary to the moral fabric of the kingdom. The rally, organized by the RPP, had drawn thousands advocating for expanded suffrage and limits on monarchical authority. Authorities arrested several individuals linked to the violence, while paramedics treated the injured on site. Final board vote on the MITs. Here we go. Agree to build a oil pipeline between Dardia and Wayland. Once again, our helicopter touched down in the Miftian International Trade Zone. Elna winced as she descended the steps to the sandy ground. The trip was quicker last time, or I was just younger. She pinned a strand of gray hair behind her ears. We began walking towards the MIT's headquarters. Ready for the final vote, Your Majesty? Remind me again, do you think our proposal is a good idea? Well, nationalizing RRG was vastly increased our income from the gold mine within our own country. Between that and our new mine in Callus, we've become much less dependent on international gold production. Which is fortunate because a large percentage of our economy still depends on gold. It will still be it will still be of some financial benefit to us if the proposal we agreed on with Morello goes through. I'd advise you go into this meeting with the intention of strengthening our international partnerships, not maximizing returns. Say yes to the new MITS proposal. I have to keep Sultania happy at all costs. At all costs, Your Majesty. We kept walking until we reached the entrance to the headquarters. We were about to enter the building when Chancellor Emmerich Hagel and the rest of the Volgish delegation walked past us. Uh-oh. Ugh. You thought I passed out for 3 seconds? I do that sometimes. Hagel looked me in the eye and nodded in greeting, his expression unreadable. Nod back. I nodded back. We were ushered into the main conference hall. Elna split off her seat as I was led to one of the 4 podiums on stage. Alvarez gave a gruff nod of acknowledgement as I took my place next to him. So how will you be voting today? You know the answer, Your Majesty. There was a squeal of feedback as Alma Sultania tapped on her microphone. The reporters, executives, and various delegations in the conference hall snapped to attention. My brothers and sisters, we all know what this is about, so I will get straight to it. Several years ago, the Republic of Morella began an initiative to bring the resources of the Miftium Basin under the stewardship of our state and our people. She took a deep breath. Unfortunately, not all stakeholders agree on this new direction for the trade zone, but after several rounds of negotiations, we were able to come to a compromise that preserved the MITS's structure while introducing new measures. The new agreement includes some changes to the size of our partnership share, but rest assured that nobody will be going home empty-handed. Well, almost nobody. An aide approached Sultania with a briefcase. She opened it and took out a single piece of paper. The amended MITS agreement of 1957. From henceforth, it is agreed that the share of the MITS previously belonging to Volksland will be transferred to the Republic of Morella. Higher wages and stronger labor and environmental protections will be implemented immediately. The other half of the trade zone will belong to Rizia. Alvarez scowled and folded his arms. Each MITS partner must now grant his or her final vote of the approval to the proposal. The Republic of Morella votes yes. Lesbia votes no to this unfair sham of an agreement. It was my turn. Rizia votes yes. Sultania nodded at Hagel. The Volkslandian Chancellor cleared his throat dramatically. The Republic of Volksland approves this proposal. There was a round of polite applause. Sultania smiled in obvious relief. By a 3-to-1 vote, the renegotiated agreement for the MITS will be implemented. This is a momentous occasion. I thank you all for joining us here today and invite you to stay for celebrations. I caught Elna's eye. She was applauding proudly from the front row. Prime Minister Sultania waved at all of us to join her at the podium for a photograph. Of course. I stepped up to the podium next to Sultania. Alvarez and Hagel stood on either side of us as she held up the new contract for the cameras. The lesbian Prime Minister spoke into my ear in a voice so low only I could hear. The gloves are off now, Your Majesty. Good luck to your kingdom. Don't forget to smile for the cameras. He kept a rictus grin on his face as the shutters clicked all around us. What a gross person. Ah, yes! The MITS is ours now! The MITS is ours! Dude, owning half the MITS kind of goes crazy, dude. Kind of hard, kind of, like, interesting to think about. Let's see. Wayland to join the Regional Alliance talks. Very good. You will be present at the upcoming round table. Dardia has decided to join the Alliance talks. And Morella has decided to join the Alliance talks. Pales is joining the Alliance talks. Very good! Very good! Wow, kind of exciting. Lack of order in Isa, violent protest in Brennus, protest in Cardis Monteclar, lots of violent national destabilization. Su Omnian activities have increased. This is bad. Boing. Look at us, dude. Lesbia's trade sanctions against Swordland. Prime Minister Alvarez has condemned the military alliance between Swordland and Volksland, calling it a great threat for the democracies of Marcopa. He announced that the lesbian government is readying new sanctions against Swordland, which will be aimed at crippling the Swordish economy. Kinal's anti-piracy summit united efforts to combat rising piracy and maritime security concerns. Moustable. What a name, Moustable. Prime Minister Reza Ngota of Kinal hosted a crucial anti-piracy summit, bringing together leaders and representatives from the Xenon Economic Cooperation and other Xenon nations, such as Zelina, Narashima, and Fenakau. The conference aimed to address the alarming rise in piracy incidents in the region and focus on developing a united and coordinated response to protect maritime interests and combat piracy funded by certain ATO nations and private military companies. During the summit, Ngoda emphasized the importance of fostering cooperation and solidarity among the participating nations. Piracy poses a severe threat to the economies, maritime trade, and regional stability. It is essential for us to join forces and tackle this menace head-on, working together for the safety and well-being for our citizens, Ngoda stated. The summit led to the signing of the Moustable is still a funny name. Mouse? You named a place after a mouse? Declaration, which included the establishment of joint naval patrols, enhanced intelligence sharing, and capacity-building initiatives for the nations involved. Additionally, representatives stressed the need to address the root causes of piracy, such as poverty, unemployment, and weak governance in some of the affected nations, as well as concerns over piracy being funded by certain ATO countries and PMCs. Yeah, weird. Weird how that happens. Walker wins in the occasioned election, stabilizing Ventry City amid economic stagnation. You think so? You think so? Walker got elected again? The lesbian government? Yeah, Walker got elected to the... No, Walker is, Ventry City. Alright. Recent Arcasian elections have come to an end, with incumbent Dwight Walker narrowly winning re-election against Charles Devereaux of the Reformist Union Party. Devereaux's campaign was notably sponsored by the prominent private military corporation Cerberus International, with a margin of just 5%. Whoa! Ooh! Woo! That's worse than an American election. Cerberus International, with a margin of 5%, Walker's victory has brought a sense of stability to Ventry City, following a tumultuous campaign season marked by political assassinations and corporate meddling. Walker's re-election has been attributed to his successful efforts in lifting a significant portion of the population out of poverty during his previous term. However, despite these achievements, Arcasia's economy has recently shown signs of stagnation. Experts argued that the slowdown may be due to high expenditures associated with the ATO alliance and the ongoing Cold War against UC. Adding to the complexity of the political landscape, tensions have risen between Rumburgian migrants and Arcasian citizens. Oh. Walker, who has Rumburgian heritage, has faced criticism and suspicion from some segments of the population. Despite these challenges, Walker has emphasized the importance of unity and inclusion in his political agenda. In his victory speech, Walker, of the New Democratic Concord, acknowledged the challenges ahead and vowed to work towards a more inclusive and prosperous society while maintaining Arcasia's core principles. Swordland joined the CSP? I think I set them as neutral. That's kind of wild. By the way, I haven't taken a bite of this burger once. I'm not taking a single bite of this burger yet. I'm gonna take a bite of my burger. Yummy. Burger. Burger. Yum. Ow. Ow, I don't chew my food, I swallow it in one bite, so it hurts. Chairman Melian of Swordland visit Vor Fruit as President Rain has announced that Swordland will be joining the ranks of CSP. The historic moment has been welcomed warmly by the member states of the CSP as they congratulated Swordland. President Rain's Vogslandian counterpart, Chancellor Hagel, has called Swordland's joining to CSP the best thing to happen in Eastern Mercopa in the last century. Over the span of the next couple of years, Swordland will economically, militarily, and diplomatically integrate with the rest of the Pact. Although the membership comes with a myriad of responsibilities, the changes will improve Swordland as a whole in almost every aspect. On the other side of the world, the leader of ATO, President Walker, called Swordland's CSP membership a threat to the stability of the world, while Prime Minister Alvarez refrained from making a comment. Of course he did. And the MITS has been successfully renegotiated. That's us, man. That's us. I hope so, Heartstorm. The years-long renegotiations of the MITS came to a successful conclusion today, with the board casting its official vote in favor of the final proposal agreed on between the leaders of Morella, Rizia, Lesbia, and Volksland. Surprisingly, the Kingdom of Rizia is expanding its stake in mining operations, hinting at a behind-the-scenes agreement made between Torres and Prime Minister Saltania. Lesbia, meanwhile, has been left with no stake whatsoever, signaling a definitive break between the ATO-aligned Republic and its eastern Mercopan neighbors. Cezanne heckled during speech, that's funny. Merdia Cezanne, a minor noble from the Al-Nors region, was heckled as she attempted to address the protests aimed against our government in Salabas. The protesters accused the Cezanne of failing to achieve meaningful change through opposition and demanded a more revolutionary strategy to deal with the king. Whoa. Riot targets entertainment district. Multiple casinos, high-end restaurants, and wellness resorts have been damaged in rioting against our government in Monquis. After the rioters were dispersed from palace tours, their initial target, the angry mob turned to the entertainment district as a symbol of wealth and inequality. Your mom, L, your mom. Millions take to the street, really? It's so funny how the game is just like, oh, everything is like better, there's like housing and shit like that, but also millions of people don't like you. The streets of Port Jazan flooded with angry protesters, angry at our government's policies, with the last straw being the closure of the House of Delegates. While demands varied, one thing is clear for the majority, the king has to go. With organizers claiming over 2 million participants and the Rizian Imperial Police unable to contend these numbers, these protests are the largest in Rizian history. Downtime at the palace. What do you mean? Am I gonna die? Did I fuck this up? I sat alone in my study with a glass of Swedish whiskey, lit only by the glow of the television. I stumbled upon a Rumburgian documentary on the Bloodish Freedom Front, which included interviews with bloodish individuals from Wayland, Swordland, and Lesbia. They shared their experiences of pain and suffering in those countries. Intrigued, I kept watching. The documentary combined old clips of Viktor Schmolak's fiery speeches against the BFF with grainy footage of former Swedish President Tarkin Saul posing sternly for the cameras. Bloodish fighters with KA-74s were interviewed and praised by Rumburgian journalists, who dubbed them the freedom fighters of Eastern Merkopa. Just as I was beginning to become invested, the screen went black, plunging the room into darkness. A moment later, the emergency lights flickered on, casting a dim red glow over the study. I'm dead, dude. I'm dead. They're gonna kill me. They're gonna kill me. Dying is gay, son. I moved to the window and pulled the curtains aside. Beyond the palace walls, the city laid in shrouded darkness. Some time later, I found myself navigating the dimly lit palace corridors, illuminated only by the auxiliary lighting. I was rushing to an emergency security meeting I had convened to address the power outage. On the way, Hugo also joined me and accompanied me in the room. Titus was quickly waiting for me when I entered inside. He gave a quick bow before he took our seats around the council table. What's the situation? Oops. As you're aware, the city's power was cut for more than 3 hours. Efforts to reroute from other grid sectors are underway. Some areas now have power, but over half the city is still in the dark. Early reports suggest there's been significant damage to a pipeline leading from an energy storage facility near Bronaz, very likely caused by explosives. Any chance this was mechanical failure? The technicians who inspected the pipeline have already ruled the possibility out. Of course they'd say that. Easier to point fingers than take the blame. Perhaps, but the evidence aligns with their conclusion. Enough beating around the bush, do we know who did it? Unfortunately, we strongly believe this incident is tied to growing revolutionary movement within Rizia. The sabotage is part of the larger pattern. This movement is attempting to destabilize Rizia on a mass scale. Tell me more. To put it plainly, the situation on the ground has escalated beyond anything we've faced since your rule began. I'd go so far to say it's comparable to what we saw leading up to the uprising of 1926. The volatile situation has been further exacerbated thanks to in no small part to the closure of the House of Delegates. As if nothing we do is ever enough. With all due respect, Your Majesty, the citizens of Rizia are discontent. They're turning out in droves in support of agitators like Adarfo Sotoleto, who we all know is the driving force behind the reform movement. Reform, that's just a polite word for tearing down the crown and everything it stands for. After the shutdown of the House of Delegates, he has been pushing the movement into militancy, rallying widespread support from various segments of the population. Rizian intelligence confirms that he's become the central figure behind the upheaval. His speeches openly call for the overthrow of the monarchy. This isn't just unrest, it's a movement gaining momentum at an alarming speed. Back to the issue of the pipeline, focusing on its restoration should be our priority. The economic strain will be felt by businesses and citizens alike if we do nothing. We'll only breed more unrest. Fix it. Very well. Now, regarding how the Crown wishes to handle the civil unrest, it would be wise to address the situation promptly before it escalates further. Last thing we want is for it to spiral beyond our control. If action is needed, then action shall be taken. From where I stand, Your Majesty, we have two options. Take decisive action and clamp down hard, or try to cool things down through appeasement. Titus Scott, appeasement. It would only embolden them to make even more demands. I will not tolerate a rebellion. That's not for me. I trust that God will guide us through this upheaval. It's true. let me see. This is not popped up, so I have to do this all myself. God will decide. God will guide. Understood. A worthy inaction will allow tensions to fester, but I trust your decision. Just as the final decision was made, the room was suddenly bathed in light. The dim glow of the emergency lamps flickered out as the palace's power system surged back to life with a steady hum. Starting to feel like a reading simulator. Thank God you can read, because I'd start crying if I hear 3rd grade level of oral reading. That is most of the stream, Heartstorm. I'm not sure how long you've been around, but this stream mostly does reading. You were here yesterday, weren't you? That's all it was yesterday, was basically just reading. Well, that's one problem solved at least. Here's to hoping the worst is behind us. I believe that's our cue to leave. Until next time. Damn it. Sorry. I only play TF2 on Fridays. I rarely play action games on this channel. Oh. See you in 5 seconds. Of course, Your Majesty. With the matter concluded, the meeting was adjourned. What was the point in all that? Make the Rizian people revolt against me and then have one of the pipelines explode. Fuck. I hope that's not gonna be serious. Tens of thousands of worshippers are expected at Plavo. Well, that's good to know. Roundtable discussion on the proposed South Mercopan alliance. Sweet. I gathered in Port Jazan with Lorento and the other members of my proposed South Mercopan alliance. For this occasion, I had chosen the Amethyst Room, a circular chamber on one of Palace Resna's top floors. At its center was a round mahogany table with sparkling amethyst inlays embedded along its edges. Their violet hue matched the silk drapes lining the wall. Pedestals nestled around the circumference displays alabaster busts of Queen Liza and many other ancestors dating all the way back to Count Resna. Ruler upon ruler, each with their own approach to diplomacy and conflict, none had attempted an alliance as ambitious as the one I was hoping to realize today. Lorento and I had exchanged nods. It was time for the meeting to begin. Dear esteemed guests, I thank you for joining me today. Pride mixed with hesitation in my tablemate's expressions. I will start with roll call. President Victor Schmolak of Wayland. Schmolak stood up and bowed with gusto. I'm overjoyed to be here with my dear friends and neighbors. Prime Minister Alma Saltania Morella. The Morellan leader stood up and gave a firm nod. I look forward to working with you all on building a resilient and unified South Mercopa. Supreme Wiseman Jorga Osmal of Berdia. Osmal rose and made the hand sign indicating the 6 pillars of Rushism. I'm ready to seal the holy bond that was written for our countries in the stars. Axel Reinhardt, Duke of Pales, and Prince Consort of Rizia. Axel smiled and rose from his chair. Thanks to my father-in-law for extending this unique opportunity for us. Everyone sat down. Now, I know some of you have had concerns about the recent unrest in our kingdom. I'd like to think that your presence here today reflects your faith in our ability to restore order. Oh, absolutely. A little revolutionary activity is like a dash of paprika in a stew. The dish is boring without it. As long as His Majesty keeps the pot from boiling over, of course. As a matter of fact, I have serious reservations, but I'm willing to listen to Rizia's proposal. It's only natural that a handful of infidels would threaten to disrupt His Majesty's enforcement of Russia's principles. They will learn the error of their ways. I looked over at Axel, he merely nodded. As the main initiator of the tentatively titled Inter-Mercopum Alliance, Rizia is prepared to offer resources to get the project off the ground. I will let His Majesty explain more about our intentions. Well, I don't know about that. We won't give it neither troops or budget or oil. All 4 members will complain and we will negotiate with each one of them. With each one, okay. Ooh, that's scary, dude. In a world dominated by ATO and CSP, it is vital that each are focused on bolstering each other's nationals. In today's event, evening ship oil and gas agreements from the backbone of this alliance. We work further towards establishing energy independence. In today's shifting economic climate, establishing financial stability should be the utmost priority. Bolstering each other's national security. Energy independence, I think. Recent disruption aside, I think you'll agree my kingdom has proven itself a reliable and generous energy supplier. Various forces have seen fit to cripple our energy supplies and attempt to force us to depend on oil and gas from faraway shores. Their efforts have been in vain. Visit cannot promise anything beyond our current energy agreements, but my hope we'll be able to do so in the future. Oh! A bead of sweat appeared on Lorento's forehead. In a world dominated by ATO and CSP, it's vital that our nations focus on bolstering each other's national security. I saw nods of agreement around the table. My kingdom cannot make any click. Oh, cannot make any. Oh, this hurts to click in this arena, but I hope you all recognize the importance of mutual defense. A few of my tablemates look skeptical. Lorento gestured for me to proceed. Shifting economic climate, established financial stability should be of utmost priority. But Rizzi itself will not commit any finances, but my counselors are prepared to aid in the across-the-board coordination of our fiscal policies. There were a couple of frowns. Moving on. I hope everyone's on board so far. You seem neither displeased nor particularly impressed. Fuck, dude. Now, we have dedicated a portion of today's meeting to go through each nation's individual concerns about this alliance. With whom should we start? Let's start with Dardia. Think about the terms of the Intermercopum so far. I must say you have failed to convince me, Your Majesty. Our new energy pipeline was a promising start, but much of Dardia remains in the dark. Our own faith is strong, but few have faith in us. All I would ask of Rizia is an investment. Help my struggling republic rise like the phoenix it's destined to become. At the corner of my eye, I saw Sultana shaking her head. Establish the Okay, here's our promises. Do the one-time investment. If I do invest, I'll give extra funds to Dardia. All other countries will start asking for them. If I do invest, I'd better see a return on. That goes without saying. You've already been merciful enough to provide for our energy needs. We will not ask for much. If an investment will give you the confidence to join Intermercopum, then our funds are yours. Asmal left from his seat, knelt on the ground, and clasped his palms together. Thank you, Your Majesty. I foresee a great and powerful alliance indeed. Halaitha. Still beaming, he returned to his chair. Welcome to our alliance, Supreme Wiseman. We are happy to help Dardia end its years of isolation at last. And then we move on to Morella. What reservations does the Republic of Morella have? She took a long glance around the table. The core of our agreement makes sense. However, I do harbor concerns about our ideological alignments. What can we do to assuage those concerns? Since you asked, Rizia granted amnesty to its political prisoners is a positive step forward. However, especially in light of the spat of arrests that have been made recently, there is one clause in your decree I would like you to remove. Those granted amnesty must swear loyalty to the crown and commit to the law and order of the state. If any of these individuals are found guilty of high treason or similar severe offenses, they will face the harshest criminal punishment. I never liked that part of the decree anyway. I'll have it scratched out. Your gesture is much appreciated. Thank you for taking me seriously, unlike certain other people in these chambers. Thank you, Madam Prime Minister. We will do what we can to engender trust between you and the other Intermercopum members. Alright, sweet. And we move on to Wayland. President Schmolak, what would you like? Damn, dude, we're just giving out Santa over here. To be frank, Wayland has its doubts. He leaned back in his chair. I was more than satisfied with the outcome of our Zeal negotiations. However, I have not yet had the chance to build such foundation of trust with our neighbors here. He looked pointedly at Yorga Asmal. The king talked about energy independence, but he has not yet brought up Wayland's oil reserves. In the absence of other international trade partners, we are more than willing to supply the nations of Intermercopum with top-quality product at a bargain price. The Duke of Pales frowned. Let's not get carried away. The reserves of the Arius gas field are more than enough to fuel our little alliance. We're talking about oil, not gas. I want your help building a pipeline to supply the countries of Intermercopum with Weshik petroleum, starting with Dardia. This could be lucrative for us all in the long run. Exactly. You are speaking my language. It's your decision, Your Majesty. We will help build the oil pipeline between Wayland and Dardia. Excellent, Your Majesty. I knew you would come through. Duke Reinhardt, does Pales agree to this alliance? Go hydrate? Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. Thank you. Tell Axel that you will protect Pales with the Dardian missiles that we purchased earlier. There you go. Pales has inextricably linked itself to Rizia, Your Majesty. Your fate is ours. But I do have concerns. I broke off relations with Lesbia because I believed Rizia could provide my Grand Duchy with protection. But your Intermercopum plan includes no such conditions. Having placed an ATO base practically on our doorstep, you owe us that much. Fair enough. I'm willing to discuss special provisions to ensure Pales' security. Axel smiled. I knew you would be. Go on. We can offer shared use of our Dardian missile systems to guarantee Politional's territorial security. Axel grinned eagerly. That will do nicely. Thank you, Your Grace. I assure you we will make your membership in Intermercopum worthwhile. A hush came over the room. That's it then. We have an alliance. Thank you all for agreeing. Nations of Intermercopum unite. It shall go down in history. The others applauded. All of the individual points we discussed today will be formalized shortly, but for now I have prepared an official statement of intent for you all to sign. He unrolled the scroll of vellum on the table. The heading on it read Intermercopum Declaration of 1957. One by one, my partners walked to the head of the table to sign it. It's been nothing but a pleasure doing business with you, Your Majesty. Victor Schmolak picked up the fountain pen and signed his name with a flourish. Thank you once more for all your effort, Mr. Taurus. Alma Sultana printed her name in precise block lettering. We are uniting the ancestral lands of St. Ruick, just as the Lord has prophesied. He signed his name and drew 6 stars around it. Nice one, Your Majesty. We'll celebrate over dinner soon. Axel scrawled his signature across the bottom of the page. I slowly walked to the head of the table and picked up the pen. Valenquier's Brandis Cardis Monteclar and the ancient homeland of the residents, descendant of the most honorable Queen Liza and King Valero, the sovereign of the Kingdom of Rizia. Alright, let's sign as Ramos Taurus. I found a free space on the parchment and wrote my name on it. I stood together with the other leaders of Inter-Mercopum admiring our handiwork. It was done. My ambition of South Mercopan Regional Alliance had been realized. Now all I had to do was tell Queen Beatrice. That's the Inter-Mercopum, folks! That's the Inter-Mercopum! That's right. That's right. That's right. Hello, Blob Odenkirk. Good name. How's the politics going? We just formed the Inter-Mercopum Alliance. We're kicking stiff, dude. War coming? Oh shit. No shot. Following Rumberg's demands for reparations from Swordland, the tensions have increased dramatically between the two countries. Yesterday, a Swordish warplane has been shot down by the Rumberg anti-air systems, and all the pilots on board have been killed. As per the information from Rumberg, the Swordish warplane has trespassed into Rumbergian airspace, whereas Swordish military reports that the plane was inside Swordish borders when it was shot. The international community is unclear of the certainty of the reports from both sides. Immediately after the incident, Swordland has started ramping up its military production, triggering fears of a war. The tensions between Rumberg and Swordland continue to increase as the largest troop deployments in the last decade began in Eastern Mercopa. Wolfbark. Hello, Bishop Gamer. What's up? Is this a first playthrough, or have I played? But your first playthrough was stressful as fuck? No. This is not my first playthrough on Rizia. But I am following a theocratic guide. For a religious Rizia, because I really wanted to see it. At the current moment, I'm making my way through the communist world on Suzerain on my other run. I've been playing. I went back to Suzerain for a while now because Torpor finally got funding again to make another country, I think, in Suzerain. So I'm excited for the next country. The Inter-Mercopum Alliance has been declared. In a historic announcement, the countries of Rizia, Pales, Dardia, Wayland, and Morella have revealed the formation of the Inter-Mercopum Alliance, an international pact meant to foster independence within South Mercopa and counter the influence of the superpowers. Initiated and heavily funded by King Rhombus Taurus, this alliance is expected to considerably change the balance of power on the Mercopan continent. It also heralds a severe severing of ties between the kingdom and former stalwart allies Rumberg, adding to the northern giant's increasing isolation. Dardia Wayland strike oil deal. On the initiative of King Rhombus Taurus, Wayland will supply oil to the Republic of Dardia via the construction of a new pipeline between the cities of Raklowitz and Nail. The business arrangement shows a new willingness to negotiate between the two countries, which have found themselves at constant odds in the past. Exacerbated by Dardia's support for the Golconda separatists of the Bloodish Freedom Front, with this solution offered by Rizia, it seems there is finally a chance for peace. Nice. Alright, let's see. Rumberg has got something to say to me. Alright, let me also take a bite of my cheeseburger. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Oh fuck, oh fuck. Yum. Okay. Damn. Oh, that's funny. There's too much personality in this. It says Rizzy will get kicked out of Grace, but if you do the correct tea etiquette, but Beatrice won't be mad. That's so funny. The grandfather clock in the tea room of Brambleton Manor let out a series of deep, resonating chimes. Queen Beatrice had invited me to her countryside retreat in Datefort for a one-on-one talk, but she hadn't failed me in on the subject. I didn't care what she wanted to talk about. I was glad to get away from the capital and see my sister-in-law. I looked down at the table in front of me. A white porcelain plate and teacups were surrounded by roughly a drawer's worth of silverware. I remember my late wife lovingly instructing me on the particulars of Rumburgian high tea etiquette. The outermost spoon was for spreading jam on scones, the middle spoon was exclusively for stirring tea, while the inner spoon was for eating petit fours. Just as the clock's 5th chime sounded, the Queen of Rumburg materialized in the doorway, flanked by her attendants. Rise to greet her. I rose from my seat in greeting. Oh, come now, your majesty, it's just us two. She gestured for me to sit down, then took her own seat across from me. A white-gloved server came by and poured us both tea, then set down a tiny bowl of sugar. So it's middle, outer, and then inner. Stir the sugar with the middle spoon. I picked up the middle spoon and used it to stir some sugar into my tea. Beatrice smiled approvingly and did the same. So, your majesty, I suppose you know why I've asked you to join me here. I can hazard a guess. She sniffed. You've turned your back on your most loyal of trade partners. Rubbed salt in our wounds with the formation of your silly little regional alliance. The reports I'm hearing of widespread riots, most unbefitting of a once great kingdom such as yours. And furthermore, our server returned with a silver tray of piping hot scones and a crystal ramekin of rosehip jam. So it's middle outer. Spread the jam on your scone with the outer spoon. I picked up the outer spoon and used it to spread jam on one of the scones. You remember your tea etiquette. Very good. But that is not enough to mend the rift between us, your majesty. And I fear you have neither the mettle nor the stomach for what's coming. What is coming, your excellency? Oh, you'll find out soon enough. She drew herself upright and stared coldly at me. I've spoken to the others. Your Grace membership has been rescinded, effective immediately. A natural development, geopolitical relationships evolve over time, after all. You'll never hold your own against the superpowers without us, that much is certain. Our server cleared the uneaten scones from the table. Two of his colleagues delicately put down a towering etagere, spilling over the petit fours. Ugh. And no one will read it since it won't be read. Probably not, Bishop. Give Beatrice the middle finger. Eat a petit four with the inner spoon. I picked up the inner spoon and used it to eat one of the petit fours. Well, I'm glad we can at least enjoy our little tea like civilized people. Indeed, just because we drifted apart from Rumburg doesn't mean we've turned into barbarians. Ha! I confess I'll miss your visits. We stood up and shook hands. As her attendants escorted me out of the room, I took one look back at the half-full cup of tea on the table. I never liked it anyway. Later, Grace! See ya! See ya, Grace! Sucks to suck, dude! Could not be me! Grace terminates the Kingdom of Rizia's membership. Grace has announced the termination of the Kingdom of Rizia's membership, following extensive deliberations. This decision reflects the changing political and strategic priorities within the Alliance. Grace cited Rizia's deviation from the Alliance's direction in the Charter as the primary reason for this move. Queen Beatrice Livingstone of Rumburg commented, "This decision ensures that Grace remains cohesive and true to its core values." Oh shit, guys, I forgot to post the article this week. Farewell, Queen Beatrice. Our kingdom has officially announced its exit from the Guild of Royal Allies for continental exchange, simultaneously severing our long-standing ties with the Kingdom of Rumburg. This decision can be seen as a stride towards economic sovereignty and a reassertion of Rizia's autonomy on the global stage. Under the guidance of His Majesty, Rizia embarks on this new journey, with the aim of forging alternative trade agreements and nurturing domestic industries. Critics of the move have been quick to voice concerns over the immediate economic repercussions. However, the Royal Herald stands with the monarchy in its vision for a self-reliant future. Rizia falls from grace. Seismic news from Port Trezon. Rizia has announced that it is no longer a member of the Guild of Royal Allies for commercial exchange. The monarchist trade organization, it has belonged since forming an alliance with Rumburg in the 1930s. Rizia and Rumburg have appeared at loggerheads for some time. With this latest development, which is sure to have far-reaching economic and diplomatic consequences for both kingdoms, it's safe to say that their alliance is truly over. That's right. Oh, the Port Trezon Stock Exchange has opened. Look at us, dude. The Port Trezon Stock Exchange has officially opened its doors, marking a historic moment for the economy. International investors flood in, eager to capitalize on Rizian industries, while major domestic companies debut their listings. The initial performance of the exchange will set the tone for market confidence, treasury balances, and long-term economic growth. The results are now in. That's a positive kickoff. That's right. A promising start for our economy. The Port Jazan Stock Exchange has opened to positive results, marking a strong step forward for the kingdom's economic ambitions. With major companies attracting investments and the Treasury reporting healthy growth, the new financial hub is already proving its worth. Business leaders commend the initiative, expressing confidence that the exchange will continue to stimulate commerce and innovation as our kingdom builds its financial reputation. All right, Bishop, let's take a break, brother. I'll see you at the end of the stream. As our kingdom builds its financial reputation, the crown remains committed to ensuring the city's continued prosperity. Oh, we gotta do the Zill speech, that's right. Stock exchange yields positive returns. The launch of the Port Jazan Stock Exchange has shown promising results, attracting a steady flow of investments. Local businesses, especially in the financial sector, are reporting increased activity and optimism. While the city sees economic benefits, some residents are cautiously hopeful that the growth will be sustained beyond the initial surge. Beyond the initial surge. Take action against Adarfo Sodleto? Sure. Rizian intelligence reports from Adarfo Sodleto is now considered an extremely dangerous person, effectively emerging as the central figure of the growing unrest in the country. If I get communist revolution, that wouldn't be a bad ending either. That'd be funny. According to the report, Adarfo's speeches, which call for the overthrow of the monarchy, are getting increased support among the masses. The movement is growing in dangerous speed, and the protests are becoming more organized under his leadership, with his followers calling for immediate action against the crown. Arrest him. RPP's radical leader arrested, a necessary step for national stability. In a decisive move to preserve national unity and order, the crown directed the detention of Adarfo Sodleto at the royal palace in Port Jazan yesterday. Sodleto was subsequently transferred to the Port Jazan detention facility, where he now awaits further procedures under the appropriate legal framework. While the decision has drawn predictable outrage from the radical elements within the RPP, it is widely viewed as a necessary step to counter rising unrest and inflammatory rhetoric and threatening the kingdom's stability. National unity must come before all else, said General Tadeo Cesaro, praising the swift and measured response of law enforcement. That's it, dude. Not even any... Adarfo Sodleto has been sent to prison, that's right. Following the crown's directive, Sodleto has detained immediately at the royal palace in Port Jazan. He's now being held under secure confinements at the Port Jazan detention facility, awaiting further procedures. Initial reactions to the arrest have been swift. Key figures within the RPP have announced the move as an attack on freedom of speech. Small-scale protests have already erupted in several districts, calling for Sodleto's immediate release. While some local governors expressed quick support for the decision, emphasizing the need for national unity, others call for a measured approach to avoid escalating tensions in the country. Security forces are heightened alert in key Rizian cities, preparing to respond to any signs of unrest. Alright, let's integrate this bad boy. Incorporate Zeal into Rizia Imperii. My mother and I stood before the chain-link fence that now surrounds her old childhood home in Zeal. The beachfront shack looked as rundown as before, but this time a giant Wayland flag fluttered proudly from its facade. Mother turned to me, simmering with palpable resentment. So it's Schmolak's house now. I can't believe my beloved son would agree to such a thing. Wasn't a one. Did you see the doorstopper he gave me? Oh, I saw it all right. No buts about it. Mother sighed heavily, her anger wearing with her sense of duty. But you made the right decision. You didn't stoop to his childish level. She took a final look back at the house. I'm proud of you, son. If not for your leadership, many more homes than mine would have been lost. See what belongs with us, plain and simple. The only thing left to do now is to decide who's in charge. The distant toiling of a bell tower interrupted her words. Time to go. The festivities will be starting soon, and someone here is scheduled to give a speech. Hello, Jack. What's up? With an odd acknowledgement, we left her childhood home behind. As we made our way through the city, I felt a sense of renewal. The streets bustled with activity, alive with the energy of the festival. The once damaged tenement buildings now stood proudly, freshly painted to conceal the scars of the past. Before long, we passed a sign for Schmolak Square where the event was being held. You should have the square's name changed as soon as humanly possible. Back to Feddo Square? The Saison would love that, I'm certain. As my mother and I stepped out of the car, we were met with a sea of cheering faces. Their palpable enthusiasm filled the air. I spotted a group of ATA volunteers proudly waving Rizian flags. On the other side of the square, a group of Dardian Galcondists led a series of victorious-sounding chants. Walking towards the center of the square, I couldn't ignore the solemnity of the moment. The solemnity of the moment. Jeez. Where the former grandstand once stood, there was now a memorial to the victims of the bombing. Memories of that fateful day flooded back to me. The chaos, the screams, the confusion. It wasn't long before I was led to the podium to deliver my speech. Mother gently placed her hand on my arm, stopping me. Good luck! May the divine light guide my words and actions as I address our people. A gentle smile adorned her face before she kissed me on the cheek. As I stepped onto the stage and took my place behind the podium, the crowd erupted in applause. Sorry, let me drink my milkshake. Yummy, 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 yummy milkshake. The applause subsided and I began to speak. Dear brethren, today heralds a sacred moment as we witness the return of zeal. For it was through our enduring faith in the Almighty that this victory was attained. To our brothers and sisters in zeal, I offer my humble prayers and deepest blessings. United in our devotion and reverence, let us give thanks to the divine grace that has united us with our brethren. Cheers erupted once more. Must not forget the reason we lost Zeal in the first place? No. Zeal has historically been a vital part of the province of Brennus. However, returning it outright would reward the Saisons for their misdeeds, therefore Zeal shall be ruled by the central government just as Rizia Imperii. But in these precarious times we need unity, not feudalism. Zeal shall be guided by the firm hand of the central government, not a noble house. There was some applause from the crowd as well as a few murmurs of concern. I motioned for the crowd to quiet down. I had finished my speech. Together we walk the path of righteousness guided by the eternal light of our faith. In conclusion, we extend prayers of gratitude and thanksgivings for the divine blessings that has brought Zeal back into the fold. May our faith continue to strengthen us as we embark on this sacred journey together. As I finished the speech, the crowd broke into loud cheers once more, their joy reverberating across the square. Local Zeal representatives approached me holding a leather portfolio containing the legislation that would officially reunify Zeal with Rizia. I accepted it, quickly scanning its documents before taking up the pen. Without a moment's hesitation, I signed my name, fulfilling a promise now complete. I glanced over at my mother. She had tears shining in her eyes. Offering her a reassuring smile, I turned back to the crowd. The memory of their praise etched into my mind forever. That's right! That's right! That's us now, baby! Nantha? We got Nantha? Oh, that's a big... Oh, God. 1/4 of the population being fucking Weshek is crazy, dude. Ooh. They were making hot progress. Oh my God, yeah. They were dumping citizens into the city, dude. That's us, dude. That's us. Oh, look at that. So good. So good. So clean. So clean. Zeal returns with Rizia, a triumph of perseverance. Perseverance. After decades of Wayland occupation, Zeal has finally reunited with Rizia, marking a historic moment for the kingdom. Despite encountering significant obstacles, King Rames's perseverance was instrumental in guaranteeing that the crown successfully reclaimed Zeal, securing its rightful place within Rizia. I need a drink of water. I'm stepping over my words. Would I have the mental capacity to sign papers every day? Maybe, Graham. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Administrative work was never my strong suit. I was definitely always, lately, though, I've been a social creature. I'm not sure if I could handle an office space. The long-awaited reunion is a symbol of the king's commitment to the kingdom's prosperity. As the flag of Rizia flies over Rizia once more, citizens celebrate the restoration of unity and sovereignty. Vogsland occupies Helluland. Oh. This morning, Vogslandian forces occupied Helluland with only a small amount of casualties when the forces of Helluland surrendered at the invasion that was executed yesterday. After the surrender, Hagel had reclaimed Helluland as part of Vogsland. God! And described the events as the triumph of freedom and reversal of historical injustices. Agnolian leader Van Horten condemned the invasion and the AN for leaving Agnolia alone and not interfering. This was a drastic first step of Vogslandian and millennialist invasion in eastern Mercopa, and I'm warning those who allowed them to do this. This is how liberty dies, he said. Agnolian Navy has also returned back to Stallport after a brief firefight with the Vogslandian forces. Damn! Agnolia was shooting back, dude. A brief firefight? Oh, meeting with Sal. Interesting. As I stood in the Benevon Arch Sanctuary, I marveled at the Lake of Reflection. Its waters flowed through naturally formed channels, weaving through the sanctuary's heart. The Arch Sanctuary had been constructed around these canals, incorporating their presence in its design. I can picture you getting bored out of your mind in the first month of stepping into a presidential office. Yeah, maybe. I would definitely have to have some sort of exercise regimen, I think. I'm not sure how much walking... I'm not sure how many parks are actually, like walkable parks are actually inside, like, Washington, D.C. President of the U.S.? No shot. There would have to be ample ground to walk around in, I think. As I knelt at the water's edge, my gaze fixed upon the mirrored surface, hoping for clarity amidst the echoes of protests resounding incessantly within my mind. Even in the oases of calm, I could find no respite from the turmoil that plagued my realm. With a furrowed brow, I attempted to silence the internal clamor, but the tumult of voices only grew louder, perhaps a trial of faith in itself. My hands clenched into fists. Take a deep breath. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath to calm my rising frustration. There you are, Your Majesty. I was looking for you. What do I owe the pleasure, Grand Wiseman? I came to inform you that the ceremony is set to begin within the hour, so we'll need to start letting people into the Arch Sanctuary soon. He was referring to the graduation of the latest batch of Ruik's Guardians cadets. My newly established religious security force was headquartered at the nearby Benevon Academy, a prestigious institution renowned for the catering to nobles and elite classes of Rizia. Despite the Board of Trustees' initial resistance, they eventually committed to incorporating the Guardian's doctrine into the school's standard curriculum. Thus, the ceremony provided a convenient excuse for my visit to Benevon amidst the unrest in Port Dazan. If you don't mind me asking, what seems to be the trouble? I'm troubled by the seemingly endless stream of issues plaguing our nation. As am I, Your Majesty. It saddens me that our people are losing faith in their king. Their leader is a false idol. His followers blindly worship him, though he is leading them nowhere. At least the two of us will have the Lord on our side. The Lord and his holy messengers. The sound of the Arch Sanctuary doors opening drew our attention to the front entrance, where people began trickling inside. At the risk of being shot while going around the park? That's the problem. I'd be talking to people as much as possible, and they'd be trying to kill me. Sal and I stepped away from the main aisle, allowing the flow of individuals to pass without obstruction. Certainly, uncertainty breeds turmoil, but faith endures. No matter how restless the times, I believe God will guide us through. Every day I offer prayers for peaceful resolution, yet I cannot help but fear that more assertive measures may become necessary. I share your hope for peace, but I also understand your concerns. It's wise to remain vigilant and consider all options, even the less peaceful ones. Our attention was drawn to the majestic tones of an organ that resonated throughout the chamber. Captain Sevrio Castellanis and Titus Gordian walked in, their heads held high. They took their places on either side of Sal and myself as the continuous line of Ruik's Guardian cadets began marching down the aisle. Next to me, Sevrio serenely surveyed his army. Say nothing and observe. I stayed silent as the cadets kept filing in. I ever rode an ass? Horses are called that. I've never rode an ass, or am. Like a donkey? Once the cadets had finished taking their respective seats, the wise men of Benevon stepped into the pulpit and began his commencement address. Sevrio leaned in and spoke in a hushed tone. If I may speak freely, given the civil upheaval we're seeing, I feel there's a solution that's not being used to its full potential. He gestured subtly to the cadets in front of us. Ruik's Guardians, as you know, we've been tasked with faith-based humanitarian work, repairing protester-damaged infrastructure, providing aid to displaced families, to name a few. We could be doing more, much more. Perhaps it's time for us to set aside the plowshares to wield the sword of justice. Let me see. Sure, that sounds fine. Ruik's Guardians have proven their dedication and capability and are a force to be reckoned with. Yes, I believe so as well. Legally speaking, you have the authority to deploy Ruik's Guardians to maintain order and uphold God's divine law. As you are God's representative on Earth, earthly laws are no different from godly laws and vice versa. Disregard of divine laws is punishable on Earth as it is in the eyes of the Almighty. Ensure that the Ruik's Guardians are given everything that they need. Yes, Your Majesty. We'll see to it that Ruik's Guardians are fully prepared to uphold justice and restore order. With another blast from the organ, the wise man finished his address. Sevrio stepped forward and began affixing star-shaped pins to each individual cadet's collar. As the ceremony continued, Sal turned to me once more. Your Majesty, with the formation of the Guardians, we came one step closer to bringing God's will to Rizia, but now I must humbly beg you to take the leap of faith. He lowered his voice to an intense whisper. A long time ago, I had a vision of Rizia's future. I believe it is finally about to come to life. Our precious children are now being blessed with the wisdom of Saint Ruik before they even learn the alphabet. With their government's encouragement, Ruch's religious organizations are growing and flourishing. Shiver ran through him. It's time, Your Majesty. Time for the old structures to crumble and for the great golden pillar of Golconda to rise from the ruins. I'm on board with implementing theocratic reform. What would you have me do? God be praised. I knew you envisioned this kingdom's future as I do. He gazed fondly at the cadets before us. During alignment of the 6 stars, I mentioned my willingness to advise you in closer capacity. Are you ready to place the Grand Wiseman into the role of the Grand Vizier? Your advice has never steered me wrong thus far. I've only carried the word of God to your ears, your majesty. As Grand Vizier, I can provide invaluable guidance on both state and soul, guaranteeing the prosperity of our realm in worldly matters and in matters of the spirit. Next time there's a matter of your so-called Golden Guard. He gazed reverently at Titus. In my eyes, it's never been fitting for the King of Rizia to surround himself with such an obvious symbol of material wealth. All your guardsmen must shed their golden trappings and become Ruik's guardians. I know Captain Gordian will agree with me. I shall be protected by a holy army. Just imagine the members of the expanded Golden Guard working as one with Sevrio and our cadets here. It will be beautiful. Reminds me of a silly story. He lowered his voice even further. Finally, your majesty, we will need to restructure the royal council under the guidance of the clergy. Just as your Grand Vizier must remain a man of God, so must all your advisors be versed in the Ruchus principles. At last, Sanctuary and State, working together as a single all-powerful apparatus. As the ancient scripture foretold. What do you say, your majesty? Shall we walk this path together as the stories have been told? Petition for Grand Vizier when the current royal council term ends, and I give you my word I will consider you for the position. Excellent! You have no idea how much this means for me and for Rizia. When that time comes, I know you will choose wisely. As if ordained from heaven, the organ once again came to life. Everyone stood and began singing a hymn, their voices reverberating throughout the chamber. Please excuse me, your majesty, I must now attend to my duties at the ceremony. I'm to distribute the holy water to the new recruits, the final step to becoming a Ruik's guardian. Oh. Once a man, an angry but happy man. Sal made his way into the congregation, and I observed the procession. Each cadet approached Sal, who reverently collected the holy water from the sacred pool into a chalice from which to drink. Each cadet took their turn to partake in the sacred ritual, a symbol of their commitment and dedication to their faith and kingdom. After the last cadet had sipped the water, Sevrio quietly approached Sal as well. The wisher whispered a benediction and gently raised the chalice to my guardsman's lips. He drank, bathed in the kaleidoscopic light from the stained glass windows. The sanctuary choir broke into a jubilant-sounding hymnal, praising all who carry out the sacred duties of Nur. I felt full pride in the Guardians, and in myself for sending them out into the world. Ruik's Guardians deployed to key cities. In order to maintain peace and stability, Ruik's Guardians have been deployed. Countess's new clothes. Zeal Unity Street Festival, a success. Hastily organized street festival celebrating the unity of Rizian Wejeks living in Nantha filled the streets of the city as life over the past 2 days. The festival celebrated the return of Zeal Rizia, while at the same time celebrating Wejek life of the city and focusing on promoting intercultural dialogue. The Zeal celebrates its return. Monarchist banners were flown, with Ramos' name being loudly shouted from chants and such. The future of the RRG! With Rusty Montaro arrested and RRG fully nationalized, the monarchy must decide the company's new direction. The choice will impact control over the kingdom's gold reserves, worker morale, and the influence of private interests moving forward. Approved a shared governance model for the RRG between the crown and the workers. Full council with full share giveaway, keep full state control, Crown Worker Council cooperation with 50-50 share split. Golden Partnership Forge. A new chapter, one marked in balance, integrity, and shared responsibility. With full private ownership dissolved and the specter of undue influence removed, the Crown has established a historic partnership. 50% of the company's shares retained under royal authority, and 50% entrusted to the dedicated workers who have long upheld Rizia's gold industry. The union of leadership and labor reflects His Majesty's vision for a prosperous, stable, and inclusive future. As gold continues to flow from the mines of Brennus, so too shall the rewards reach the hands who earned them. That's right. Return home from the farmland after replanting grass seed. Grass seed. Grass seed. Ruik's Guardians prepare for March arrival. Deployed on every street corner in order to prevent the Kalmth. Already minor clashes have occurred between the Guardians and other anti-government demonstrators as they have started forcibly clearing squares to allow the large mass of expected people to arrive safely. Preparations for the Queen Mother's birthday. Really? I stood amidst the bustling activity of the Drazon Grand Library. Preparations were in full swing for the upcoming gathering of Rizia's noble houses to honor my mother's 75th birthday. With the events less than 2 months away, our architects were installing new shelving and arranging rare books for displays. It was part of the library's renaming in my mother's honor. Thanks, Heartstorm. Have a good night. Once in a while, he would have to go back by horse. I was just about to ask the decorator to move a shelving unit when Titus walked into the library. He relieved the prior guard from his post and bowed and took in the sights around him as he approached. Good day, Your Majesty. Everything seems to be moving along as expected. As long as it's not falling apart, I suppose that's something. Yes, a crumbling library wouldn't be the best backdrop for a royal birthday celebration, though it would earn its own chapter in the library's history if something were to go awry. As long as it's one of the successes rather than calamity. Rightly so, sir. Suddenly I remember the historical document that the renovators had recently unearthed, the original founding charter of the Golden Guard. Speaking of history, I've got something to show you. Follow me. I whispered to the archivist to retrieve the charter before heading into an adjacent room with Titus. The sound of hammering faded as we stepped into the trophy room, a special edition I had commissioned. This was a space designed to display the kingdom's rarest conquests, with the walls adorned with the heads of exotic animals. You're in for a treat. I certainly appreciate the occasional surprise. We waited in silence. The minutes stretched longer than expected for the archivist to return with the document I'd requested. Hope the archivist didn't get lost, take a wrong turn, end up in the palace. What are you on about? Huh? You don't know? There's a hidden passageway beneath the archives, once used to discreetly transport books to and from the library. However, its true purpose is serving as an emergency escape from the royal residence. Good to know. Might come in handy one day. You never know. Soon after, the archivist returned, carrying a leather-bound case secured with brass clasps. He unlocked it and opened it before leaving. Titus stepped closer, his eyes fixed on the ancient parchment, the founding charter of the Golden Guard. I had no idea this still existed. His gaze traveled to the signature at the end of the document. By order of His Majesty, Felicio Rubaz, 1650, over 300 years ago. Damn. You go into an incoherent, the horse would just drop him, incoherent swear tantrum. Thank you for showing this to me. I thought you would like it. May the Golden Guard's proud legacy carry on another 3 centuries and more. The archivist appeared again and took the briefcase away. Titus moved to the door, then hesitated. Well, it's just you and me. Perhaps you'd like to discuss the security details of the birthday gathering? I know it's a long way to the future, but it pays me to be prepared. Yeah, fully brief me. Certainly, but we should speak in private. We stepped into the trophy room where the walls were adorned with the heads of exotic animals. Pleased to know that we have already begun tightening security protocols, which I'm more than happy to walk you through. What emergency procedures do you have in place? Were an unforeseen event to occur, we've established a clear emergency protocol, with designated safe rooms and evacuation routes. All staff and guards have been briefed on these procedures. In addition, a new secure communication system has been set up to ensure instant contact between guards at the palace. Let's hope we never need to use them. Pending an act of God, I can all but guarantee you'll never have to. The guard deploys? We've tripled the number of guards on patrol, particularly around key access points and gathering areas. Our coordination with the guards from each noble house will ensure seamless security. Reservation about involving the house guards. Our trust in them isn't what it used to be, especially with the political tensions running high. Share your concern, but we're taking extra steps to vet each one of them and ensure their loyalty. And access and entry protocols? All palace entrances will have choke points to verify guests against invitation list. Personal belongings will be thoroughly checked. In addition, we've installed surveillance cameras in strategic locations to monitor guest movements and identify any suspicious activities. No unauthorized individuals gain entry. Under my watch, no one without proper clearance will set foot inside the palace. Heard enough. What security threats are you anticipating at the party? To be honest, Your Majesty, the current level of unrest in the country has me very worried. We've been fielding death threats against you from Sotoleta's followers since his arrest. They might well put in an appearance at the gathering. Trust you and the rest of the security apparatus to deal with them. We will try, Your Majesty, but there are only so many of us. You must have read the reports of violence being sown in the provinces. If I may offer my opinion, quelling the unrest will take a cross-provincial effort. The crown will seem weak if I delegate power to the provinces. You may have a point. Needless to say, I and Ruik's guardians will be on high alert at the birthday gathering, ready to shield you should anything go awry. We'll also be on the lookout for any threats from the other nobles, of course. I have reason to believe some among them cannot be trusted. What makes you say that? As security council, I am, of course, aware of the going-on in your court. I can't be the only one who's heard rumors of discontent among the members of House Azaro, as well as the Saisons, but that shouldn't be surprising. I don't have reason to believe anyone is plotting against the crown yet, but you should exercise caution. We'll need to evaluate these findings carefully and consider our next steps. Most assuredly. That's all the knowledge I have. It's up for you to decide what to do with it. I will not tolerate disloyalty from within my own court. My mother's birthday is the perfect time to strike. Titus widened his eyes in surprise. Strike, Your Majesty. Indeed, it's time to put my rivals in place. He took a moment to process what I'd said. Just to be clear, Your Majesty, which of the houses are you speaking of? House Zara and House Saison? I see. I must say I doubt the Saisons would unseat you even if they wanted to. The family is still too fractured. As for the other house in question, as a family as powerful as the Azaras is not to be trifled with, we must think carefully before directly challenging them. No, I need both houses. Very well. I suppose we should talk specifics. Do you recall the story of Luca Iberico, the 18th century merchant of Argno? Enlighten me. As the story goes, his control over the city was so absolute that he disregarded the rule of law, declaring himself count and imposing his own corrupt regime. Eventually, his misdeeds attracted the attention of the king, who invited Iberico to a harvest festival at which all noble houses would be present. If there was that the Golden Guard surrounded Iberico and his family, forcing them to sign over their power, wealth, and titles in front of everyone else. Not only did it effectively neutralize the threat, it sent a strong message to the entire nobility. Nobody dared challenge the crown for generations after that. Can your men be trusted to carry out such a plan? Of course they can. With our expanded ranks, the Golden Guard could handle this just as easily as now as we did back then. While our methods to obtain these signatures may be less than ethical, the resulting agreement would still be recognized as official and legitimate. It would also reduce the risk of upsetting the populace. I like the way you think, Captain. Thank you, Your Majesty. As to how it might proceed, at some point in the course of the birthday gathering, you'd corral your targets into a room with only one exit, this one for instance. Your mother and anyone else you wanted to keep safe would remain in the main atrium, insulated from harm. Whoa. The man would only calm down after having his caffeine, which he drank from a bucket-sized cup. Damn. Bucket. This is a bucket. On your command, I and my men would overwhelm the other nobles with a decisive show of force. We could then declare our control over the houses of assets and force them to sign over their land on the spot. And then what? What if they refuse? Then they would be openly defying an order from the crown, and therefore subject to punishment as the king's discretion. Once the signage is complete, you'd bring the nobles back into the library building with the announcement that the targeted house's lands are now under the control of the central authority and their titles have been stripped. What if they figure out what we're up to? You can count on my guard's discretion. Or bring in third party. One with more distance from the crown. That would be a very delicate operation, but if you believe other forces than mine are capable of carrying out, I won't discourage you from contracting them. Nobody's more capable than you. You smile. It'll have to be me then. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, Your Majesty. Is this really the course of action you want to pursue? It is. May God forgive me. He will. It's rare that the heads of all three royal houses are gathered at the same place at the same time. I understand you not wanting to waste this opportunity. Just to be sure, whom do you wish to task with carrying out the operation? Trust you and the Golden Guard. It will be my honor. I'll get right on it. He shook his head in amazement. The monarchy seizing control of both rival houses. It's utterly unprecedented. History will remember my triumph. Titus's demeanor remained controlled as he saluted. Before I forget, Mr. Atria asked me to inform you that he's just commissioned a painter for the Queen Mother's birthday portrait. The artist wants to know how Madame Estella should be portrayed. Thank you, Titus. I know exactly what I want. Mother Estella? Yeah. Champion of the common people. The more sympathetic, the better. Paint the Queen Mother as she really is. I will relay the direction immediately. It will undoubtedly be a masterpiece. After Titus left, I once again took in the impressive array of animal trophies adorning the walls. Then he would faint in his bed after telling a joke that may or may not be good or bad. He never did get to tell without laughing to death. Apparently what my late grandfather was like. Never met them, however. That's funny. It's quite the story. Ah! As I admired the collection, my eye was drawn to the bare spot above the door. It stood out, almost a silent challenge, reminding me that there is always more to achieve, more conquests to be made, more legacies to leave behind. The bare wall seemed to whisper of future triumphs yet to be claimed. Whoa, that's the end of the... Oh, that resonates with the people for more support. Oopsies! Well, didn't read that one. I hope it's not too serious. Hope that one isn't load-bearing. Non-Russious tax. Non-Russious religious tax. Enacting the non-Russious tribute decree, Rizzi imposes a 20% VAT explicitly on non-Russious communities. I gotta sneeze. Ah, shit. Kind of. Maybe. Hey! Channeling additional fiscal resources into the kingdom's treasury each turn. Daenerys, Seranists, and other religious adherents within the realm may interpret this measure as selective, adverse fiscal imposition on their spiritual observances, potentially inciting internal opposition. Furthermore, it will precipitate diplomatic complexities as countries like Wayland and Rumburg, with their substantial Daenerys populations, perceive this policy as an affront to their citizens and their spiritual belief. Actually, not my problem. Actual skill issue. Accidentally end the game? I hope not. I hope I'm not about to be assassinated from being unpopular. Energy subsidies for industry. Energy subsidies for subjects. I think that's it. Leveraging its energy production surplus, the kingdom announces a plan to subsidize gas heating, ensuring that all residents... No. Energy subsidies for industries. The Crown decrees a subsidy on energy costs for industries to strengthen national production and global competitiveness. This measure aims to invigorate industrial growth while ensuring economic resilience. Manufacturers express enthusiasm for the relief, though concerns rise over the strain on energy reserves and public finances. This policy's long-term sustainability remains under careful evaluation. Sweet, and we can sell support vehicles. I cannot sell my first batch of support vehicles to the international market. That's funny. Sell military equipment. Fourth batch of military equipment. At this point, you can enact anything you want. The game is over. UBI, free medicine, free transport, whatever. That's funny. Lower conscription age, increase conscription duration by 12 months, enforce pledge of allegiance to the monarchy. Heating energy subsidies, landowner tax, government stimulus check. How many people still say bless you nowadays? I hear it all the time when people sneeze, even here in Seattle. Public rail transport subsidies, sea transport subsidies, repeal the business tax credits, cessation of industrial energy subsidies, remove the income tax, permanent work permit for labor hands, naturalization process for foreigners, residence work permits, allow the free press, remove the death penalty, provide the king's cars. We could construct anything. Baruchism as its sole faith. We could construct stuff. I don't think that matters, though. I guess I should spend all these resources, though. Energy heating subsidies for subjects? Sure. Landowners tag, government stimulus checks, public rail transportation subsidies, public sea transport station subsidies, repeal business tax, cessation of industrial energy subsidies? No. Welfare? Tenant protection laws? Free medicine? Free medicine and free public transportation? That's chill. Free electricity for households? Sure. I'm in, like, negative economy now. I wonder if that will fuck me over. There, my welfare has been extremely expanded. To the degree where I'm at negative energy sector now. I just crashed my economy. Power for every home, a more connected kingdom, accessible medicine. The crown provides gas subsidies announced for commoners, energy subsidies for the industrial sector. Non-Russia's tribute to be issued to the crown. That's right. Alright, well, hope that didn't fuck me. This should be good. Oh, no energy. Energy crash. Missiles on Hellland. According to the report from the AN, immediately after the occupation, Volkslandian forces started building missile silos, and they brought in vehicles that were suspected to carry UC missiles that are capable of reaching western Merkopa. Agnolian leaders Van Horten claimed that Volksland is planning to install nuclear missiles on the island. He said that Agnolia will not allow Volksland to settle on Helluland. Agnolian forces did not react, apart from 2 air raids. Since the invasion, it is unknown if the conflict will be concluded officially. Grape quality ranking recovers. Nelsavar Rushist Sanctuary opens its doors. Wezhek protest returns to Rizia. That's funny. Argnodast Nurist Sanctuary opens up. Heck yeah. And pipeline finish between Dardia and Wayland. Good for them. They love each other. Aw. Palace urges population to hang tight amidst blackouts. Turn off the lights. Save energy. Omegalol. Oh my! Immediately after, imagine the next time immediately the next chapter I get shot. I stood in the foyer of the Estella Taurus Royal Library awaiting my distinguished guests. The freshly renovated building towered over Heinrichus Square at the edge of the old town. Its towering marble facade was topped with the luminous glass dome that was visible from all over Port Drazan. The light of the setting sun shone down through the dome and into an enormous atrium encircled by 3 stories worth of bookshelves. At its center, a long dinner table had been brought in for the occasion. A bevy of attendants busied themselves around it, setting places and adding the final decorative touches. My mother's portrait stood covered in cloth at the head of the table, awaiting its formal unveiling. Everything's in place, sir. Titus stood nearby, his voice close enough that only I could hear. I've given the word to my most trusted guardsmen. They're on standby awaiting our signal. This will be a night to remember. The sound of familiar voices caught my attention. I turned to see my mother, along with Vina and her husband. My daughter ran her hand over one of the many long rows of books. Her face was rapt. It's quite something, isn't it, Axel? Did you see the old Peletian section? Oh, did I ever... Hang on. Oh, I guess you don't annex Tales until the very end? I don't know. It's great, although I'm sure your father would prefer it was incorporated into the Rizian section. Duke Reinhardt threw me a wink. Mother continued to survey the renovations, looking unimpressed. I would have been just as happy doing something small. 75 is a milestone. There's so much more for everything you've done for this family. The most important thing I did for this family was give birth to you. From there on out, I've just been inching towards death. Ah, don't say that. The years have been more than kind to you. Well, now you're just trying to butter me up. Something only a charming granddaughter can pull off. God, I could use a smoke. Do not take the Lord's name in vain, Queen Mother. Sal walked over to take his place alongside us. Forgive me, Grand Wiseman, I didn't realize our new government forbids praying for a cigarette. It's alright, Grandmother. We all need time to get used to the coming changes. Fina cast a sidelong glance at me. My mother deserves a special dispensation on her birthday, Sal. Yes, very well. You are forgiven, madam. The clock chimed 6. An attendant entered and bowed before announcing that House Taurus has arrived. Here we go. The doors swung open, revealing Hugo, Rico, and Hubertus Taurus. Dressed in their most formal suits, they walked down the hall flanked by golden guards. Hugo bowed first, and the others followed suit. Your Majesty, my dear Madam Estella, many happy returns. Aunt Estella, wishing you all the best. Many blessings to you and your family. Welcome, Hubertus. It's always a pleasure to see you. The pleasure and honor is mine, Your Majesty. I trust all is well in Valenquir? He looked troubled. Oh, as well as can be these days. Tensions in our province are escalating, as I am sure you are aware. Yes, I know. What are you doing about it? We're doing everything we can, but there are challenges beyond our control. Hugo bowed to Sal. Grand Wiseman, I'm looking forward to assisting you with Rizia's transition. Very kind of you, Your Grace. It's a mark of a truly great Grand Vizier that knows when to step aside. Isn't there something you wanted to give Queen Mother Hubertus? Ah, yes. He waved to the attendant trailing him, who quickly handed over a gift box. Hubertus pulled out a bottle filled with a murky-looking liquid. A homemade botanical tonic with ingredients specially selected to preserve one's youthful glow. Some collected from my travels, others harvested from my very own garden. Not that you need it, Madame Estelle. Estelle looked skeptical look at the bottle. Thank you, Your Grace. I can't wait to try it. She delicately stowed the gift away as my family members left to take their seats. It was then that House Azaro's arrival was announced. The atmosphere in the library shifted as Tadeus wheeled his chair in, his finest military uniform decorated with medals. Beside him, General Carlos Robles Azaro, commander of the Rizian Armed Forces, entered, dressed in the standard utilitarian military uniform. As they approached, the two generals offered a sharp salute followed by a deep bow to my mother. Happy birthday, Your Royal Highness. Your strength is an inspiration to our men and women at Camp Dolmu. Thank you for joining us, General. My pleasure, Your Majesty. Duke Reinhardt, Your Grace, if I'd known it would be this easy to get Pales to rejoin Rizia, I would have married you myself. We brought a gift for the Queen Mother, a small token of House Azara's appreciation. Without missing a beat, another attendant presented a tattered piece of cloth elegantly displayed in a glass case. It showed both the Azaro sigil and the bull of House Taurus. I present to you this flag, raised in celebration after House Azaro reclaimed Monteclar during the 1926 uprising. It was also carried amidst protests, parades, and rallies, symbolizing our house's support for the monarchy even during the most turbulent of times. Thank you. It means a lot you would be willing to part with such a priceless relic. It is as much as part of your history as it is as ours. It's a beautiful gesture, General. Look, the bloodstains it even matched the garnets on my bracelet. Moments after the Azaros exited, the door swung open to reveal our guest from House Suzerain. Exuding excellence, Countess Leona Suzerain, as Salabas bowed as she approached. Thank you so much for your invitation, Madame Estella. May this day bring you and all the joy and warmth you deserve. She reached into her handbag and pulled out a small jewelry box. Mother accepted it, opening it to reveal a delicate gold chain necklace, cradling a pendant intricately dotted with diamonds. This pendant represents the stars on the night of your wedding at King Valero. To King Valero, each stone marks a key star that shone down on you both that evening. Estella's demeanor momentarily softened as she gazed at the necklace. It's beautiful. Thank you. This touches me deeply. Thoughtful gift, truly. It's nice to see old rifts healing at last. My forgiveness can't be bought with mere trinkets, but diamonds, on the other hand. After the Sezons departed, I was greeted by the cavalcade of nobles from the lesser houses, including Daria de Rava. Table rang a bell. It was time for everyone to be seated. The dining table was elegantly set with gleaming silverware and crystal glasses that caught the soft candlelight. Under the watch of Ruik's guardians, attendants poured wine and champagne as quiet conversation filled the room. After taking a moment to let the guests continue their chatter, I eventually rose from my seat holding a glass of wine in hand. A moment, if I may. I won't subject you to lengthy speech, just a simple show of appreciation. I walked over to the large painting draped in a cloth at the head of the room. To Queen Mother Estella Taurus, protector of the Taurus dynasty and matriarch of the realm. I unveiled the painting of Mother. She was holding court at a party, a cocktail in one hand and a cigarette in the other. The painter had perfectly captured her likeness down to the last wrinkle. Mother's eyes narrowed as she scrutinized the gift. For dast's sake, is this really what I look like? Yes, it's uncanny, the ultimate encapsulation of your grace and beauty. My crow's feet, you're merciless, Robus. Our guests applauded politely. It was then that sound of classical Rizian music filled the air. I took my seat at the head of the table. The servers began bringing out tray after tray of delicacies, stuffed wild mushrooms from Cardes Monteclar, roast boar from Brennus, and of course, Taurus's flambe with succulent Monkey lobster. As we ate, I saw Titus occasionally whispering with his fellow guards. I tried to focus on the contents of my plate and the light conversation around me, but it was difficult knowing what was about to happen. Once dinner was over, the servers carried away the table and began circulating the drinks and sweets. Titus approached me, leaning in and whispered, "It's time, Your Majesty. You should get your guests into the trophy room. The Golden Guard and I will await your signal." I stood up to address our guests. "I'd like to speak privately with House Zaro and Cezanne." Now it's time to unveil the renovated trophy room. First, I'd like to see it will be our guests from House Cezanne and Azaro. A brief silence fell, followed by a subtle exchange of glances. With the rest of the formal wear, my invitees left their seats and followed me into the trophy room. Several catering staff were already present, moving briskly as they set out refreshments. Once inside, I closed the door, leaving the celebrations behind us. I didn't want it to come to this, but alas, here we are. They looked at one another, seemingly confused. Come to what, Your Majesty? Has our house done something wrong? If I'm afraid I don't understand, Your Majesty, House Suzerain has shown nothing but loyalty to the crown. This is the unfortunate matter of Manus, but of course, the rest of us are not like him at all. My family and I are not the same Suzerains who once sought to overthrow your father's rule, nor do we bear the ambition to repeat such actions. Loyalty is something one demonstrates not only in words but in actions. Leona's gaze briefly landed on the stuffed wolf nearby. I locked eyes with Titus and gave him the smallest of nods. Understanding, he moved with practiced silence and positioned himself by the door. Titius's eyes flickered toward him suspiciously. Looking back, what would you say was the most lasting result of the War of Rizian Succession? Damn. Ugh. It was not so long ago, the Rizian history, that the three noble houses were at bitter, bloody odds with one another. During the War of Rizian Succession, you mean? A brutal battle, but one that redefined warfare as Mercopa knew it. Techniques were developed that were still in use now. And let us not forget the bonds that were forged between House Taurus and House Azaro at the war's end, an alliance that has continued to this day. Yes, our houses were aligned for over 100 years. Your service to the kingdom has been invaluable, and yet... Your family has begun to test the boundaries of loyalty now. Just as Anna Azaro had to be defeated for the good of the kingdom, so her ancestors must have faced the crown's justice today. Injustice? What is it that you think House Azaro has done? This is preposterous. I demand an explanation. It is your right to mete out justice, Your Majesty, but please believe that House Suzerain knows its place. After today, you will know your place for good. I swear we're innocent. I believe you're innocent, just as you must believe that there's nothing personal in what I'm about to do. By this point, everyone in the room was staring at me in disbelief. I asked for your full cooperation starting right this second. And that's when it began. The heavy double doors crashed open and the Golden Guards stormed in. My guests barely had time to react before Golden Guardsmen descended in perfect unison. Those already stationed inside the room were swift to act, weapons drawn. Captain Gordian, what in God's name are you doing? Stay seated. Titus raised his weapon. A few catering attendants were grabbed, forced to their knees, and bound. The guards formed a tight line, blocking every exit with unwavering precision. The room was silent but for the crunch of broken glass beneath their boots. Everyone stay where you are. Am I about to slime her out, as the kids say? I'm not about to cream pie anybody. They shifted uncomfortably, casting fearful glances at each other, but remaining in place. I'm sorry it had to come to this. Come to what exactly? If you wish to avoid further punishment, you'll disavow all claims to your estates, to your lands, and to every privilege your family has enjoyed. Why? That's ridiculous! Leona rose to her feet, her mouth opening to a voice of protest, but she was swiftly shoved back into her seat by the armed men surrounding her. Titus approached with a leather-bound folder in hand. He extended it to me, and I opened it, revealing the documents inside. Carefully, I set it on the table nearby, a large map of Rizia splayed beneath it. Placing a pen on top, I looked at everyone with a measured gaze. They sat in stunned silence, the gravity of the situation dawning on them. Today, his expression twisted in anger. Your Majesty, I've given my blood, my years, and my loyalty to Rizia to preserve the very kingdom you now accuse me of betraying. I sacrificed more than most, and yet you demand that I surrender the very legacy I fought to protect. I will not yield, not when I fought to keep this realm whole. I refuse to sign away my family's legacy. Nothing you could say or do would convince me otherwise. Today, as for the sake of the family, you must reconsider. Our pride is not worth the cost. It's not what any of us want, but there is no point in resisting the crown. Today, as his jaw clenched, his eyes blazing with defiance. No, never. I'd sooner die. Under the authority vested in me as king, I place you under arrest. Arrest today as he won't sign, then execute everybody. Doesn't matter how. I went with the firing squad. Titus took hold of Tadeus' wheelchair, passing him off to the other guardsmen waiting for the far end of the room. You will not escape the consequences of this action. Mark my words, justice will be served. Justice is mine to command. Your actions left me no choice. Justice lies in the hands of those who hold power, not the empty ideals. Carlos preserved the family's honor at all costs. His cousin looked away as he was wheeled out of the room. Gestured to Titus to pass the pen. I turned to Carlos. And then there was one. I pledge my loyalty to you. The rest of House of Azaro is at your command. He picked up the pen from the floor, kneeling to sign the document with shaking hands. One does not prove your loyalty. One act does not prove your loyalty. I expect to see consistency in your actions from here on out. Yes, Your Majesty. Carlos rose slowly, his head bowed in quiet acknowledgement as he stepped away. The silence fell heavy, marking the final moment of House Azaro's defiance. I looked around the room. Consider what just happened a lesson to all of you. I spread the deeds of transfer for House Suzerain across the table. Leona stood slowly as she clutched the chair for balance, her breath shallow and uneven as she approached. Her eyes reflected an unspoken dread before settling on the pages. The name Suzerain is more than landed titles, it's a legacy that endures. Leona picked up the pen. This ink may mark the end of our holdings, but it can never erase my family's name, forever etched in history. Leona signed with a steady hand, though a quiet tremor betrayed the despair she fought to conceal. Thank you for your cooperation. My gambit had succeeded, the crown had prevailed. I believe I made myself clear. Thank you for your understanding. I moved closer, closing the gap between us. Go with God. I wanted to execute with it. I allowed Titus to lead everyone else to out of the trophy room. Shouts of shock and confusion rang out from the guests in the atrium as they entered. I took one final glance at the walls around me. The trophies of old victories hung like ghosts, their somber presence now tempered by the gleam of fresh triumphs. Long live the king. Oh, I didn't get to kill him. Damn, I should have killed him. Loyalty and order, a new chapter for the crown. Ugh. Loyalty and unity strengthened the crown. The Queen Mother's birthday celebration was a grand affair, bringing together the royal houses in a momentous gathering while the discussions behind closed doors remain private. One thing is certain, His Majesty King Ramus continues to be revered by his subjects. Following the event, the royal members of House Azaro and House Suzerain graciously entrusted their estates, titles, and provinces to the crown, a testament to their unconditional loyalty. This noble gesture reinforces the unity between the monarchy and the kingdom, ensuring a stronger, more prosperous future for Rizia. With the steadfast support of both his people and the royal houses, the brilliance of King Ramus's reign shines brighter than ever. The celebration of the Queen's Mother's birthday marked a significant moment in Rizia's history. The king's fair and just agreement with the House Azaro and House Suzerain was met with overwhelming support, as noble houses voluntarily surrendered their lands and estates to the crown. However, a few individuals, including Azaro and possibly others, responded with violent resistance, disrupting the historic transition. Thankfully, the threat was swiftly neutralized and these involved were taken into custody. Their actions, though regrettable, will not deter Rizia's continued progress under the steadfast leadership of King Ramus Taurus. The kingdom looks forward to a stronger and more united future. Power shift in Rizia raises global concerns. The balance of power is shifting. King Ramus has stripped the royal members of Azaro and Suzerain of their authority, consolidating their estates and provinces under the crown. While the move strengthens his rule, it also raised concerns about political stability, with power now concentrated in the hands of the king. International observers question whether this signals a shift towards absolutism. As Rizia tightens control at home, its stance on foreign affairs remains uncertain, broadening speculation about how this internal transformation may reshape its role on the global stage. Let's see. The Rizwell Conduit? I'm in an energy crisis. Couldn't be me. Monteclar transitions to direct crown rule. Ruick's Guardians prevent Union activity. Whoa, that's funny. Brennus is now under direct crown authority. That's right. I wish they'd turn orange. Dissipating dissent at the capital. Good news. Once massive throng of protesters across Rizia, including in our very own capital, has begun to wane as their movement loses momentum. The Portrazon Police Department is registering fewer reports of property damage and violence against nobles, while individual cells of anti-monarchists remain active. The discord and conflict that plagued our streets mere weeks ago appears to be coming to an end. Good news. Meeting with the Royal Council. Let's shoot them all. Good night, Graham. Thanks for stopping in, man. A few weeks have passed since the events of my mother's birthday. Since the traders of House Azan have received their just deserts, since I had finally proven my dominion over the mighty House of Azaro, I knew it would only take some time for the kingdom to adjust to the new order of things. For now, though, my security counselor had called a last-minute meeting related to the recent unrest. Hugo, Elena, Lorento, Titus, and I gathered once more in my council chambers. Sal Ignatius rushed into the room just as the clock struck 4, bowing profusely in apology. I looked around at my advisors. Like me, they hadn't been getting much sleep lately. Thank you all for joining us today, and for your loyalty and hard work during these recent trying times. Now, I will let our Counselor of War and Security share the good news. Titus wore a proud smile on his face. Your Majesty, I'm pleased to report that the unrest that has plagued our kingdom for so long is finally coming to an end. Be praised. My counselor nodded. I admit I was skeptical that the movement could be calm without the need for such harsh measures, but that seems to be exactly what's happening. This must never be allowed to happen again. Agreed, it was difficult enough for us to bounce back the first time. The upheavals we experienced did negatively impact our economy. Thanks to your quick actions after the sabotage incident, our energy reserves are on track to reach their former capacity. We remain in debt to Rizian Royal Gold. I hope it isn't too late for that to be squared. We got to adjust the root cause of the uprising, not just recover from it. Very prudent thinking, Your Majesty. He scribbled something on a notepad in front of him. I will get word to our partners in Intermercopum that the threat of destabilization is over. I know they're beginning to worry. Our nation remains greatly divided. Only the power of faith will heal it. I like that. Hugo cleared his throat. We've all got work to do. I suggest we adjourn. God be with you all. One by one, my counselors bowed before me and departed. Well, that's that then. Okay. Massive rise in new businesses, and great. Gardia condemns Ruik's guardians. Oh. Your mom. Ruik's guardians preventively close minority shops. Massive rise in new businesses. Great living standards. WHR voices concerns over Ruik's guardians. Alright, everybody needs to chill out on the Ruik's guard. Fate of the prisoners. There we go. Let's shoot them all. I always found Port Jazan Citadel as majestic as it was unnerving. With long metal spires, the buildings emanating an aura of terrifying grandiosity. Just looking at it sent a shiver down my spine. In my study, a stack of papers was waiting for me, a matter of life and death. In the impenetrable prison, there were people residing on my orders. I had to decide on their fates. Punishment by execution. I decided to punish these prisoners by execution. These arrested prisoners have committed grave crimes against the crown and their king. Their punishment has to be decided on whether they should keep serving their sentence or they should meet their guillotine. Arrest the criminals. The below criminals are held in Port Jazan Citadel awaiting your verdict. Which one should be executed? Lucita Azar should be executed. Mana Cezanne should be executed. Rusty should be executed. Tadeus and Adarfo Sotoleto should be executed. These arrested prisoners have committed grave crimes against the crown and their king. Their punishment has been decided on whether they should keep serving their sentence or they should meet the guillotine. But listen, who should be invited to watch the execution that will take place? Only the nobles. Guillotine, hanging, firing squad, electrocution. Firing squad. These arrested prisoners have committed great... Well, shoot them in the head. I reviewed the papers once more, pressed the seal on the wax. I pressed my ring on the wax, sealing the order. It was done. The decision had been made. One of the two bridges connecting the island of Port Jazan Citadel to the mainland was slowly lowered. The maximum security prison's tall metal gates opened and a convoy of vehicles followed. The convoy was escorted on all sides by the many police cars and armored police carriers. Soon they arrived at the Grand Garden inside Palace Resna where the executions were to take place. I had gathered nearly all the nobles in Rizia to witness today's events. Many were in a party mood, having drinks and enjoying themselves. The Scylla Orica had been placed on a balcony overlooking the gardens. The police were awaiting my orders. Gestured then to bring out the prisoners. The doors of the police vehicles opened. Police officers lined up the condemned next to the poles for the firing squad. They all had black bags on their heads. I immediately recognized the subjects of my execution order, standing alongside a number of other inmates whose time had come as well. The executioner walked in after signaling the officers to leave. He was a short, pudgy-looking man. Nothing about him gave away the idea that this job was to kill people. He had an emotionless face, as if this was just a regular day for him, the same face a clerk would make when processing their taxes. An involuntary shiver ran down my spine. He pulled the black bags off each inmate's head to reveal their faces. Calmly, he came before me and bowed, awaiting my instructions. No need to waste time. The executioner looked at me for the final order, gestured for the executioner. I gestured to him to begin. With an off-putting smile, he moved over to the line. The guards followed his lead. Soon after, all of them were tied to the poles. Their eyes were blindfolded. Their final rites were read to them, as well as prayers for the ones who requested it. The executioner held his hand up to signal, Elita. His hand went down and the signal was given. The firing squad loaded their rifles, pointed, and shot the prisoners in unison. The nobles let out a collective gasp. I felt that they were looking at me in a new light. I was more feared and respected now than ever. After a short while, the jerking motions of the lifeless bodies stopped. They were no more. Execute both Tadeus and Lucita. Order the watch execution. Rioting as Izia commemorates Manus Saison. That's funny. Lesbia laments the loss of Rusty. That's also very funny. Azaros hold vigil for the fallen family members. Enemies of the crown executed. That's right. Nearly all of Rizia's nobles gathered at the palace Resna Gardens to witness the execution of several enemies of the state, as well as some minor troublemakers. The prisoners who were convicted for various crimes were executed by a firing squad. The nobles cheered as those traitors met their demise. At last, King Rhombus no longer has to worry about bad actors standing in the way of his reign, as he will surely lead our glorious Golden Kingdom to greatness. Glorious Axa Rezia. A final visit to the House of Delegates. The House of Delegates was silent, a stark contrast to its former days of bustling activity. As I walked through the grand chamber, my gaze fell over the now empty rows of seats. Hugo strode confidently at my side. Now it's our turn to breathe new life into this kingdom. They didn't see the future you envisioned. I could not allow them to steer our kingdom off course. You give them an inch of trust and they will take a mile of betrayal. It's a stark reminder of how hard it is to find real allies. I spent countless hours sitting in this room. Few were the occasions where a 5-minute conversation with the king would not have been just as effective. As Hugo and I reached the center of the chamber, I noticed a display case near the podiums. In it resided Rizia's old constitution, ratified by King Valero in fading black ink. Democracy. To think that this unassuming document could have incited such turmoil and challenge to our rule. My brother's aims were noble, but he opened the door for ill-intentioned actors to divide and destabilize us. Your leadership has restored Rizia to its rightful place. Under your reign, our kingdom will thrive, free from the turmoil of democracy's false promises. And now, in the wake of recent events that I'm sure I need not mention, Rizia stands stronger than ever. You've given our people hope for the brighter future. He removed his hand. This empty chamber marks a new beginning. As Rizia's strength grows, they will see that only a crown, guided by faith, can ensure the stability we need. I motioned to the chamber. What do we do with the place? Hugo paused, deep in thought. If I may offer an opinion, well, what Port Trezon lacks is a museum of Rizian history. A place dedicated to our kingdom's past, a monument to our storied heritage. What exactly did you have in mind? Such an institution could trace the reign of House Taurus from its Resonant era beginnings to today, reinforcing the message that our family's rule is the rightful place for this kingdom. He chuckled softly to himself. Well, you could even have a wing dedicated to those who dared to oppose you, highlighting how they met their fates. They'd be forever marked as disloyal. The hall would be a reminder of where true power resides. Nobody who visits it will dare rise against you. So you're in favor of the idea? Without a doubt, I'll oversee the construction plans for the museum personally. An excellent choice, if I do say so myself. Preserving our history will solidify our future. Especially if a special wing is dedicated to showcasing the consequence of disloyal and the betrayal. I couldn't agree more, Your Majesty. It would serve as a strong deterrent. The nearby bells from the Arch-Sanctuary of Zilba prompted Hugo to check his watch. He then looked up at me with a wry smile. I don't know about you, but as much as I enjoy scheming over what to do with the skeletal remains of this place, I could do with an aperitif. Will you join me? As if he even had to ask. Excellent, then shall we? Yes, let's shall. I took one final contemplative look at the room. After a moment, I nodded, feeling a sense of resolution, and then made my way out, with Hugo following closely behind. King Rhombus to convert the House of Delegates into a national museum. That's right. Royal Council reshuffle. Every 7 years, the king is granted the opportunity to remove or replace members of the Royal Council. We're nearing the date of the hearing petitions, the ceremony which qualified candidates may petition for the council position of their choosing. After listening to the petitioners, the monarchy may accept or disregard their requests at will. Um... Cancel the ceremony and keep the council as is. He's not gonna like that one. Isa demonstrations quelled after intense standoff. In Isa, thousands flooded the main square, chanting against the king's plan for the House of Delegates. The protest became difficult to manage, but law enforcement eventually dispersed the crowd after prolonged efforts. Sorlin prepares for an invasion. Uh-oh. And I think that's it. I think that's it, man. That's the eternal crown. A golden crown. Oh, maybe not. Defining the university's nerdy curriculum. Rushism, only Rushism, all nerdy branches, of course. A unified vision for a religious scholarship. Mandated that the South Procopan University of Theology in Bronaz will include teachings of all recognized branches of nerdy. This inclusive approach aims to bridge theological divides and prompt a deeper understanding of the faith's diverse traditions. By embracing nerdy, Das nerdy, Rushism, Galkandism, and Zara nerdy, the university positions itself as a beacon of scholarly inquiry and spiritual unity. Students will have the opportunity to engage with a wide range of perspectives, fostering a well-rounded education rooted in respect and open-mindedness. Officials emphasize that this decision reflects the kingdom's commitment to religious tolerance and intellectual growth, encouraging exploration and dialogue. Rizia sets an example of harmony through knowledge. University of Theology opens its doors. Midday at the palace. Do I die? I stood on the palace balcony watching as a flurry of monarch butterflies drifted through the air, their orange wings catching the late spring afternoon sunlight. They'd come from far as Rumburg, journeying thousands of miles to reach southern Xena where they would winter. Rizia lay in the heart of their migration path. I had seen them before, but this time something about their passage struck me differently. I couldn't stop thinking about how when butterflies land on you, they're tasting you with their feet. A knock at the door drew me from my thoughts. Hugo stepped forward, head bowed. One of his aides proffered a leather-bound folder thick with documents. Your Majesty, the latest reports from the kingdom. I will retire to my study and look this over. I took the folder beneath, and they turned and left. With one last glance at the butterflies, I stepped inside with my way to the study. Setting the folder down, I took out the reports and spread them across my desk. I sat in my chair and took a moment to scan the contents, considering where to begin. Foreign affairs? I turned my attention to foreign affairs. Read the report on Pales. Despite the premature end to reunification talks, relations between Rizzi and Pales have maintained a cautious yet cordial tone. Marriage between Duke Reinhardt and the princess continues to strengthen ties between our two realms. I guess I didn't unify the state. That sucks. Damn it, might as well marry her off to Rico. Fuck. I continued reading. The partnership between Rizzi and Pales regarded with the Arius expansion field remains profitable, with potential for future expansion if current trends continue. Pale's membership in Intermercopan has proved beneficial for all countries involved, strengthening their economic influence and position on the global stage. I come to the end of the document. Lorento's graceful signature nearly spilled off the page. I wondered if there was anything I could do to foster goodwill among the Pelesians. Offer citizens of Pales the option to obtain Rizian passports. A dual Pelesian Rizian citizen. Read the report on Zeal. Though Zillians have enjoyed freedom of movement since the amendment to Zeal agreement, many families separated by the region's transfer to Wesha control are only now reuniting. The mood is happy, but Zeal's reintegration into Rizia under direct control of the crown has brought with significant challenges. The strongest resistance to integration comes from Zillians and Weshik citizenship, who fear being treated as second-class citizens due to their limited legal protections. A large portion of our new citizens are Das Nurist, who appreciate the accommodations Rizia has made for their religion. Meanwhile, your treaty with Wayland granting Weshik citizens full rights as Rizians has helped ease the transition for those who opted to stay. Complementing these efforts, the Ariana Tourist Association has expanded its cultural and language initiatives in Zeal to ensure our new citizens feel at home. Meanwhile, Rizian Oil and Gas, Rizian Royal Gold have been conducting surveys of the region. It's suspected that a great amount of gold and oil still lie in the earth. Those citizens will likely have to be displaced in order to reach these resources. This concludes the report, signed Lorento Esquibel, Counselor of Foreign Affairs. Setting the report aside, I thought about how to best take advantage of Zeal's return. As part of the Great Resettlement, offer Rizian families incentive to relocate to Zeal and help rebuild. decided to offer thousands of loyal Rizian families generous incentives to relocate to Zeal to help rebuild our future. Alliances in the military. I picked up the first report regarding the AN. Rizi's position within the AN remains a focal point of international discussion. Our continued membership in the Forum has ensured we have a say in global security and trade decisions, though it has also kept us entangled in foreign affairs. Better to shape the world than be shaped by it. At the same time, Rizi's diminished military capabilities have led to a perception of vulnerability. While this reassures some nations of our peaceful intentions, it also invites doubt about our ability to defend our interests. However, our partnership with the ATO regarding the leasing of our island Calicobees for military purposes has enhanced our power projection. Despite our reduced military strength, this agreement reinforces our strategic importance and ensures that we will be protected in a worst-case scenario. I flipped a page settling on the section about Intermercopum. The Intermercopum Alliance holds firm, but outside powers, both rival states and economic blocs, see our growing influence as a challenge to their own. As Queen Beatrice already made it clear, Grace views our decision to form Intermercopum as a deep betrayal. Morella's membership has greatly troubled the CSP, which was hoping to use the Republic to gain a foothold in southern Mercopa. Though we are friendly with ATO, Dwight Walker has expressed unease about Intermercopum's growing footprint. Though none of our other direct neighbors are candidates for membership, I believe expanding Intermercopum in the future is not out of the question. Sincerely, Lorento. Took a minute to ponder the report's contents. Propose opening membership applications to Intermercopum. Could strengthen our international alliance. Domestic matters. Intergovernmental affairs. With the abolishment of the House Delegates, noble and common Rizians alike complain the lack of representation in government. We've seen little activity among former members. Whatever's left of the reform movement seems to have gone underground. While the History Museum has improved regional's perception of the monarchy, more efforts are advised to reassure the public that the Crown cares for them. Regarding Cardes Monteclar and Brennus, the change from regional house governments to Crown administration has been smooth, as the legal transfer of lands and titles has prevented major disruption. The public has shown little concern, viewing the change as merely one name replacing another. A small minority of Cardes Monteclar inhabitants refuse to acknowledge their new rulers out of solidarity with the deceased former duchess. No strong leader in Brennus, the House Sezon loyalists capitulated very quickly. As for our remaining lands, your relatives in Valanquir are disappointed that your successor will not bear the Taurus name, though of course they will accept Princess Vina as their future queen. No matter the future of your reign, House Taurus will support you as steadfastly as always. Your humble servant, Hugo Taurus. I set the report aside, contemplating over what I just read. Need to approach my next steps wisely. Carve the faces of Rizia's greatest kings and queens into the mountains above Port Trazon. Royal Summon. I drafted the order before signing my name and imprinting the seal in the wax. Economy and energy. Despite your stated intention at the beginning of your reign, our economy is still heavily dependent on resources such as gas and gold. Unfortunately, we are in the throes of an energy crisis that threatens to erase whatever progress we made. Our demand for fuel drastically outstrips our supply. We must either cut our energy expenditures or seek out new sources. In terms of budget, our treasury is overflowing. Low expenditures and high income, we can comfortably embark on large investment projects without facing debt. This does not yet take into account the potential of Zeal's remaining resources, which have yet to be unearthed. Our economic growth has led to a surge of new businesses, from factories to neighborhood restaurants. We have the Crown's positive relationship with the Rizian business community to thank for this. Amid our flourishing business climate, we must take care to uplift the citizenry and nobility alike. Our economic health has led to living standards that are far above the Mercopan average. Over 70% of Rizians own televisions, approximately half of all homes have air conditioning, and weekend getaways and dining out have become routine. A predictable outcome. With our people's needs covered and then some, we have a comfortable base from which to expand. The success of Port Trazon Stock Exchange is proof of Rizi's potential. We must rise to meet expectations. Signed, Eleanor Warner, Council of Treasury and Economics. Close the binder and pick up my pen. Make every Rizian citizen legally obligated to buy shares in the Port Trazon Stock Exchange. Now that I have done, I press the button on my speakerphone, instructing the attendant on the other end to summon Hugo and his aides. It was long before they entered my chambers. Handed them what I signed and sealed, which they carefully looked over. Bold! Consider it handled. My advisor bowed once more and departed. As their footsteps faded down the corridor, I turned my gaze to the window overlooking the gardens. The sun had begun to set, and the silhouettes of butterflies fluttered against the fading light. I was once again reminded that they taste with their feet. How life is full of strange, unexpected oddities. And no matter how strange the journey ahead might be, I would face the future head-on. The Wonder of South Mercopa. Alright, I think this is the last one. I entered the Grand Hall to make my speech addressing the nation. The hall, usually echoing with the whisper quiet footsteps of courtiers was transformed to a hive of chaos as the film crew set up cameras, lights, and microphones. I was seated at the room's center. Hugo's weighty mahogany desk had been moved here for the occasion, its surface cleared except for a single, neatly arranged stack of papers. After the makeup crew brushed various powders on my face, I reviewed my notes briefly. It was a big day. It was time to address the Rizian people. I took a deep breath, my gaze lifting to meet the lens of the camera. At the last moment, an aide placed a Taurus crown upon my head. With a nod from the director, the red light blinked on and I began to speak. Servants and followers of the divine god, with profound reverence and love, I extend my blessings to each of you, my cherished flock under the watchful eyes of the divine. You are strong and prosperous, Rizian, and put your complete trust in me, your king, to restore our country to glory. Throughout my reign, I have been uplifted and sustained by the knowledge that your thoughts and prayers were with me. Look directly into the camera. I stand humbled by the blessings the Lord has granted us throughout the time on the throne. Of everything I've done so far, I'm perhaps most proud of welcoming Zeal back to Rizia. It is by God's will that Zeal, once veiled in sorrow, now stands redeemed. Shut to the House of Delegates out of love for the Rizian people. I know that true will of my subjects can never be represented by a group of squabbling bureaucrats. We also recently announced our new alliance, Inter-Mercopo. Rizzi will set the pace for the future of our region. This organization will bring prosperity to all of South Mercopo. In the future, I expect more Mercopan nations to join. In the realm of commerce, we have forged new trade deals that have opened new horizons for our products, bringing Rizian craftsmanship and ingenuity to the global stage. The horizon before us is aglow with the promise of a new dawn of our industries. I'm proud of the new energy infrastructure we have created. We have brought power to countless homes and businesses both here and abroad. Our focus remains on leveraging these developments for a greater good of Rizia and the global community. After granting full rights to Weshik citizens dwelling within our borders, Rizian society is more diverse than ever before. Incredible inspiration to see the Rizian people take welfare into their own hands, unimpeded by bureaucracy or state control. After a tumultuous 8 years, we now stand at the crossroads of history, reflecting on the journey behind us and gazing into the promise of tomorrow. With God as my witness, I give you my solemn word. Not rest until our economy and industries have reached their full potential. We will surpass our neighbors, arise to compete with the superpowers themselves. I will commit myself to the path of Golconda and dedicate myself to God. With the authority vested in me, I do not merely stand before you as your king, I stand as the embodiment of Rizia past, present, and future. Thank you with my full heart. God bless you all. And not at the camera crew, they stopped filming. My 8th year was almost over. So it was. So it was. I don't know if I got the theocratic achievement, actually. Ugh. Yikes. A few months after your speech, you strode into the Grand Hall for your Jubilee celebrations commemorating 8 years of your reign. The time passed too fucking quickly. The band played a series of ceremonial fanfares as you walked past your many prestigious guests. Each of them bowed reverently as you passed. You took your seat on the Silica Orica. You looked to your left. You saw your mother, as stylish as ever. You couldn't help noticing that her face looked much more tired and worn out than when you took the throne. You smiled at her and proceeded with the celebrations. You looked to your right. You saw Hugo Torres, your uncle, Grand Vizier, and most steadfast supporter, surveying the room. He leaned over and said he'd heard whispers that today's celebrations were in bad taste, given the current mood in the country. Told him to relax and enjoy himself. The hall filled with silence as the orchestra conductor lifted his baton, awaiting your signal. You gave it. With your one gesture, the orchestra cued in and the festivities began. Your cousin Hubertus was the first to pay respects. He came before your throne and bowed. He had risen up the ranks to House Taurus lately. You played along with a fake smile. You looked around in the ballroom, your eyes met with Carlos Cesaro, permitted to be here in a military capacity only. He walked toward the throne and knelt and kissed her ring. You accepted the gesture impassively. There were no members of House Suzerain among your well-wishers. You've heard that Leona and her family were at constant odds with each other these days. You wanted nothing to do with the family or its inner workings. Duke Axel Reinhardt entered the ballroom with purpose. He was smiling and cordial with the line of nobles. Finally, he came to kneel before you with an exaggerated gesture. You bowed in response. Delegation from the AN and Intermercopen greeted you respectfully while eyeing each other with uncertainty. You ordered the servants to deliver more wine to them. The war between Rumburg and Swordland was on everyone's lips. You could tell your international partners wanted to know which side Rizia was on. It was fun to keep them guessing. The grand doors to the hall opened and Vina walked in. The entire hall fell silent, captivated by the beauty and elegance of the crown princess. She looked just like her mother. As the orchestra struck up a fast-paced tune, she walked up to Axel and tapped him on the shoulder. They danced in perfect synchronization as if they'd been married for years. As the song ended, they approached you with the news that they expected a child. You gave them a heartfelt congratulations. Your daughter's husband had disappeared into the crowd. She remained by your side. You warned her to be ready for the den of wolves that was waiting for her. She told you that she was ready, that she had been waiting for this for her entire life. You showed her the throne right beside yours. There began the days of Vina of House Taurus, the heir apparent. History will remember you as the Faithful. Alright. There I am. Adarfo Sodoleto's status immediatism, anti-monarchist. Family head of House Suzerain, Angelica Suzerain. Oh yeah, she was in prison, I forgot. Ignatius is a statist monarchist. That's funny, they made me Arcasian capitalist monarchist. Makes sense. Damn. Intermercopen became the fourth most influential alliance on the globe. Look at us, dude. End the game? Yes, please. God. Get me out of there, man. Rizia done. Ooh, I'm excited for the next one. I probably will auto-select both Swordland and Rizia when the time comes to play, like, the third country if they make one, you know? And not worry about the story selection or anything like that. Oh goodness. Oh goodness gracious. Well, that was our Theocratic Suzerain run. I have to actually look to see if I got the achievement or if I just completely fucked that up. Because I've been known to do that. But I'm gonna take off, guys. I'll see everybody tomorrow for... That was the rest of that Suzerain run, so we can check that off the list. For Pentiment, we're gonna try and finish up Pentiment either Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll see. I'm guessing there's probably gonna be maybe like 1 or 2 chapters left. That's why I scheduled it twice, you know? So I'll see everybody tomorrow. I hope everybody has a good night. I will also, in the Discord, put this week's discussion topic, which is gonna be the 1934 trade union document. So I hope everybody has a good night. I will see everybody tomorrow. Bye-bye, Johnny!